Billy Bunter Gets the Boot by Frank Richards. Bunter! I'm not here. What? I mean... You're wanted, said Harry Wharton. The captain of the Remove was looking in at the doorway of study number 7. Billy Bunter was in that study, and as the door opened, Bunter dodged round the corner of the bookcase, apparently with the idea of taking cover and keeping out of sight. But a very large bookcase would have been required to conceal a youth with a circumference like Bunter's. Quite a lot of Bunter remained on view. "What's this game, you fat duffer?" asked Wharton. "You're wanted, Walker of the 6th. "I know," grunted Bunter. Wharton stared at him. "Well, you'd better go," he said. "Walker's a prefect, and he won't want to be kept waiting. Blow, Walker!" "Well, I've told you," said Harry, and he turned away. I say, hold on, old chap," exclaimed Bunter. I say, I don't want to go to Walker's study. I don't want a licking." "Perhaps it isn't a licking." "Well, what else would it be? I suppose Walker of the 6th isn't asking me for tea, is he?" "Not likely," said Harry, laughing. "But he didn't look very bad-tempered. I think he's got a visitor in his study, too." "Blow him and blow his visitor." "I'm not chancing it. Look here, old chap. You go and tell Walker that I'm out of gates." "What?" "I'll do as much for you some day," said Bunter. "I dare say you would," assented the captain of the Remove. "Telling whoppers is more in your line than mine." "Oh, really, Wharton." "What have you been up to?" demanded Harry. "Why are you afraid to go to Walker's study?" "I'm not exactly afraid," said Bunter. "You've known me long enough to know that I'm as brave as a lion." "Oh, my hat! But I didn't want a licking. Very likely Walker noticed that some of the tarts were gone. Mind, I didn't take any. I never went into his study this afternoon at all. But fellows are suspicious, and he might think I'd had them, though I was careful to close up the bag again. Ha-ha! Blessed if I see anything to cackle at." There was a heavy step in the Remove passage from the direction of the stairs. Wharton glanced round and sighted James Walker of the Greyfriars 6 in the distance. Mahomet was coming to the mountain. "Here he comes," said Harry. "Walker?" gasped Bunter. "Yes." "Oh, dear. Tell him I'm not here. Tell him I'm ill. Say it's my father's funeral today, and I had to go to see... Oh, my hat!" Bunter dived under the study table. He vanished from sight just as Walker of the 6 reached the doorway. The prefect frowned at Wharton. "Didn't you tell Bunter?" he asked. Yes. Well, he hasn't come to my study." "Do you know where the fat young idiot is?" demanded the sixth former. I think I could find him," stammered Harry. "Back up, then. My uncle can't wait all day for the young chump. I've told him about Bunter's ventriloquism, and he's curious to hear it done. Wish I hadn't mentioned it now," growled Walker. "I want the young ass to come and give us some of his ventriloquial stunts. Tell him I'll stand him 6 tarts if he gives a good show. That ought to fetch him." There was a movement under the study table. A fat face in a large pair of spectacles rose into view. "I say, Walker!" The sixth former jumped. The sudden apparition of William George Bunter rather startled him. "Oh, there you are!" he exclaimed. "What the thump were you hiding under the table for? You knew he was there, Wharton. You see, I see that you'd better not waste a prefect's time. Take 50 lines," said Walker. "Now then, Bunter, come along." James Walker of the Greyfriars 6th marched Bunter into his study in the sixth form passage. A middle-aged gentleman was seated there. The remains of a tea were on the table. Walker of the 6th had been entertaining his elderly relative, possibly in the hope of extracting a tip of a tenner from the avuncular pocket. Mr. Walker looked at Bunter curiously. "Is this the boy, James?" asked Mr. Walker. "That's the kid, Uncle. He doesn't look very intelligent." "He isn't," said Walker. "The dunce of his form, I believe. But he's a jolly clever ventriloquist, Uncle." William George Bunter glared. He was quite convinced that intellectual vigour beamed from his fat face. Well, let's hear what the boy can do," said Mr. Walker. "I've been kept waiting rather a long time, James." "Sorry, Uncle," said Walker meekly. He wished that he hadn't mentioned Bunter and his ventriloquism to the old gentleman at all, But really, it has seemed quite an easy way of getting through his uncle's visit. "Go ahead, Bunter," he said hastily. Bunter blinked at him. He was wanted to perform, and he was always ready to perform. But on the present occasion, Bunter realized that he had power in his hands. Walker had a rather cross old uncle to deal with, and if the ventriloquism did not come off, after all, it was very probable that the old uncle would be crosser than ever, and that Walker's expected tip would not come off either. So, Bunter was in no hurry. "The fact is, Walker," he began. "Give us some of your ventriloquism," growled Walker. "Make a dog growl under the table and a voice come down the chimney and all that. Same as we've all heard you do lots of times." "The fact is," said Bunter calmly, "that I haven't had my tea and I'm hungry. When I'm hungry, the ventriloquism won't come. I shall have to take a snack first." "Nonsense," said Mr. Walker. "Oh, really, sir?" "Tuck into that cake, if you like, Bunter," said Walker of the Six, with a glare at the owl of the remove. "Thanks, I will." Mr. Walker gave a sniff and walked to the study window, and stood looking out into the green old quadrangle of grey fires. Walker of the Six glared at Bunter as he demolished the cake. He was quite well aware that the remove ventriloquist was on the make. "My uncle's waiting," hissed Walker. "You've got to entertain him, see? Buck up, or I'll smash you afterwards." Bunter finished the cake. "I'm ready," he announced. "Uncle?" Mr. Walker grunted and turned from the window. The old gentleman gave a jump as a dog's savage growl was heard, and he backed to the study wall. "James, there's a dog in the study!" he exclaimed. "You know perfectly well that I dislike dogs, and I detest dogs. It is thoughtless and inconsiderate of you, James, to have a dog in the study when I visit you." "There isn't a dog, Uncle," gasped Walker. "I distinctly heard it growl. That's Bunter." "What?" "It's Bunter's ventriloquism." cackled Bunter. "Nonsense." "It is really, Uncle," said Walker. "He's really very clever at imitating sounds and voices, fool as he looks." "Oh, really, Walker?" The old gentleman blinked suspiciously around the study through his gold-rimmed glasses. He satisfied himself at length that no dog was there, and he seemed a little impressed. "Really, that was quite good, if it was Bunter," he said. "The growl was not wholly natural, perhaps, but still—" "Oh, wasn't it?" exclaimed Bunter warmly. "It jolly well took you in, anyhow." "Don't be cheeky to my uncle, Bunter," said Walker. "Now make a voice come down the chimney." "I scarcely think the boy can do that," said Mr. Walker. "Go to it, Bunter." "Help!" came a cry down the chimney. "Help! Help! I'm shut up in this here chimney!" "Bless my soul!" exclaimed Mr. Walker. Walker of the Sixth grinned. But for his knowledge of Bunter's ventriloquism, he would have fancied that someone was in that chimney himself. "That's nothing to what I can do," said Bunter. "I'm afraid I can't do any more, though, unless I have another snack." "You young sweep." "I've heard enough, James," said Mr. Walker. "Let the boy go. Certainly he seems to have a very unusual gift, but he is otherwise, I should say, a very stupid boy, and he is a very greedy and ill-mannered boy. You may leave the room, Bunter." "Oh!" ejaculated Bunter. Walker gave the owl of the remove a glare. He had really depended on Bunter to see him through his uncle's visit, but Bunter, of course, had spoiled it all. "Get out, Bunter," he snapped. "I say, Walker, get out." "Well, what about the tarts?" demanded Bunter warmly. "I was going to have 6 tarts." "You've had a cake. Get out." Mr. Walker evidently disapproved very strongly of Bunter. "The boy is unpleasantly fat and very greedy," he said. "Send him away, James." Walker dropped his hand on Bunter's collar and jerked him doorward. There was a howl from the fat junior. "Whoa! For goodness sake, James, get rid of that unpleasant and noisy boy," exclaimed Mr. Walker. Bunter's eyes glittered behind his spectacles. Certainly it had had the cake, but the tarts were not to be forthcoming, and Bunter was wrathy. He was not at the end of his ventriloquism yet. "Oh, shut up a minute, Uncle." "What?" roared Mr. Walker. It was James Walker's voice that uttered the words, though James Walker had not opened his lips. I say, gasped Walker. "James, how dare you? I didn't speak. It was how dare you," roared Mr. Walker, justly indignant. "Don't yell." "What? You said..." I didn't. I never..." "You did," roared Mr. Walker. It was this young villain," gasped Walker, shaking Bunter furiously. I told you he was a ventriloquist." "Nonsense! Do you think I do not know your voice, James?" shouted Mr. Walker. "Oh, you're an old donkey." "Upon my word!" Walker, in a state of desperation, planted a heavy boot on William George Bunter and sent him spinning into the passage. There was a sudden end of Bunter's ventriloquism. His next remark was in his own voice. "You poor cow!" Walker turned back to his uncle. The old gentleman had grabbed up his hat, with a face crimson with rage and indignation. Only too clearly did Walker realize that a £10 note would not materialize. I say, Uncle," he stuttered. "You have said enough, sir," roared Mr. Walker. I never said." Mr. Walker brushed past his nephew and strode from the study. Walker of the Six stared after him in helpless dismay. He rushed after his uncle. "Uncle, I tell you..." Mr. Walker strode on, unheeding. "Uncle..." The old gentleman strode down the staircase. A dozen Greyfriars fellows in the passage below looked curiously at his crimson face, and at the excited Walker rushing after him. Walker of the Six caught him up, and in excitement and distress grabbed him by the arm. "Uncle, I repeat..." Smack! Walker staggered back. His exasperated uncle had boxed his ears. He staggered against the banisters, gasping for breath. With a burning face, the hapless sixth-former hurried back to his study. There he selected his stoutest ashflunt, and sallied forth to look for the owl of the remove. And to judge by the expression on James Walker's face, Bunter, when found, was booked for the time of his life. "Hello? Hello? Hello?" Bob Cherry was astonished. In spite of the dropping rain, some 7 or 8 of the removed fellows had turned up on Littleside for football practice. Bob Cherry, Johnny Bull, Harry Wharton, Squiff, Peter Todd, Vernon Smith, and 1 or 2 others were there, rather wet and rather muddy, but in a cheery mood. And all of them were surprised when a fat figure rolled down to the football ground, in shirt and shorts, ready for practice. "Bunter, as large as life!" exclaimed Harry Wharton. "You've missed the way, Bunter," grinned Johnny Bull. "It's the other direction to the tuck shop." "Oh, really, Bull?" Billy Bunter rolled on the field. "You really want to join up, Bunter?" asked the captain of the remove. "Of course I do," sniffed Bunter. "I'm awfully keen on footer." "Oh, my hat! And that beast Walker is after me." "Oh," ejaculated Bob Cherry, "you fat bounder. Is that it?" "But what's the matter with Walker?" asked Harry. "Weren't you doing ventriloquial stunts for him to entertain his visitor?" "Yes, and he wasn't satisfied," said Bunter. "Now he's going to lick me, though I tried hard to please him. It ain't fair, is it?" "It jolly well isn't. If it's like that," said Harry, "we'll roll in, Bunter, and if Walker comes along, we'll do the best we can for you." And Bunter joined up. The juniors were playing a very informal pick-up, with 4 aside, and Bunter was put in goal. Harry Wharton and co. were going strong, rather breathless and exceedingly muddy, when Walker of the Six appeared in the offing. They did not heed him or even see him, but Bunter saw him, and he quaked in goal. The prefect strode on the field. His wrath had not decreased. He was prepared to give William George Bunter so terrific a hiding that the fat ventriloquist would be quite tired of playing ventriloquial tricks on a sixth-form prefect. Bunter blinked at him and rolled out of goal. It was time for him to take part in the kicking and rushing and slipping and tumbling which constituted that game. "Stop!" roared Walker. Instead of stopping, Bunter rushed right into the midst of the fray. "Stop him!" shouted Walker, speeding across the wet ground after Bunter. "Hold him, you fags!" "Likely, I don't think," murmured Johnny Bull. Bob Cherry jumped forward. Bob gave all his attention to Walker. He captured the ball and kicked as Walker came rushing up. He kicked for Walker. Crash! The muddy football landed fairly in the midst of Walker's features. Walker of the Six gave a muffled roar and sat down. "Goal! Well kicked!" Walker sat dazedly mopping mud from his face. He glared at the hilarious removites with a ferocious glare. "You young scoundrels! I'll... Walker started to scramble up, gripping his ashflant with deadly intent. "On the ball!" roared Bob Cherry. "Play up!" There was a rush of footballers. Before Walker of the Six could gain his feet, the rush reached him and passed over him like a tidal wave. And Walker, roaring, disappeared under muddy footballers, struggling and squirming. And Billy Bunter, with a grin on his fat face, sprinted off the football ground and disappeared. Walker picked himself up, shook his fist at the juniors, and walked wearily and muddily off the field. He was feeling the need for a bath and a change of clothes more than anything else. Walker strode into the house. He strode in so quickly that he almost ran into Mr. Prout, the master of the fifth form, who was crossing the hall with his usual slow, stately, and ponderous tread. "Goodness gracious!" exclaimed Mr. Prout. He stared at Walker. "Goodness gracious! Is that Walker of the sixth form?" "Yes," hissed Walker. "Are you not ashamed, Walker, to be seen in public with a dirty face and a dirty collar, like some careless and uncleanly boy in the second form?" exclaimed Mr. Prout. I go and wash yourself at once, Walker." James Walker hurried away, boiling with rage. He fairly bolted into a bathroom, and for some time he was busily engaged in removing the mud he had gathered up on the junior football ground. Then he hurried to his study for a clean collar and tie and clothes-brush. When he came out of his study, he was keener than ever to find the owl of the remove, and as it happened, almost the first person he sighted was Billy Bunter. "Bunter! Here!" Oh, dear. Bunter ran for it. "Stop!" roared Walker. Oh, Bunter was not likely to stop. But the heavy tread of the prefect sounded behind him, drawing nearer and nearer, and Bunter realized that there was no escape. He was fleeing past the door of Mr. Quelch's study, and he suddenly turned, tore open the remove's master door, and bolted in. Walker came after him with a rush. From the fact that Bunter rushed recklessly into the study, Walker supposed that Mr. Quelch was out, and that Bunter knew it. As a matter of fact, Bunter was too scared to care whether Mr. Quelch was there or not. Mr. Quelch was there. He started up as his door was hurled open, and Bunter panted breathlessly in. "What? Oh, gasped Bunter. Oh, dear." "Bunter? Why? What?" Walker came in with a rush. "Now, you young scoundrel!" "Walker!" exclaimed Mr. Quelch in a formidable voice. "Oh, gad!" Mr. Quelch's eyes had often been compared by his pupils to gimlets on account of their piercing qualities. Never had they seemed so like gimlets as they seemed now to Walker of the Sixth. "Walker?" "Oh, yes, sir," gasped Walker. "What does this mean?" "Oh, Help! Keep him off!" yelled Bunter. "Silence, Bunter! Walker, kindly explain what you mean by rushing into my study in this unruly manner, in pursuit of a boy belonging to my form," exclaimed Mr. Quelch. Walker, gasping for breath, red with confusion. I, gasped Walker, "that young rascal, if Bunter has been guilty of a fault, and it is your duty as a prefect to punish him, this is not the way," said Mr. Quelch, frigidly. As Bunter belongs to my form, and he is here, I will deal with the matter personally. What has Bunter done? Walker breathed hard. He was playing tricks in my study, sir, while my uncle was on a visit. Tricks with his rotten ventriloquism. My uncle's offended, and he's gone off in a temper. Indeed. This is a serious matter, said Mr. Quelch. Bunter, I have had occasion to speak to you several times on this very subject. He asked me to go, sir, gasped Bunter. Fairly made me come to his study to show off my ventriloquism, sir, and I did my best, sir, but he wasn't satisfied. That alters the case, said Mr. Quelch. Did you ask Bunter to come to your study for that purpose, Walker? Yes, sir, but... Then what have you to complain of? The young rotter, began Walker. Mr. Quelch raised his hand. It appears, Walker, that you asked Bunter to do as he did, but were not satisfied with the way he did it. Yes, sir, Then you have only yourself to blame, Walker. I shall not allow you to punish Bunter. Bunter, you will inform me at once if Walker should inflict any punishment upon you in regard to this matter. Oh, yes, sir, gasped Bunter. Certainly, sir. You may go, Bunter. The owl of the remove quitted the study. Mr. Quelch eyed the sixth former sternly. Let this be a lesson to you, Walker, he said. Learn to control your temper. You may go. Walker went. He did not desire to say more. Indeed, his feelings were too deep for words. He strode down the passage in a boiling state. At the corner of the passage stood William George Bunter. He grinned at Walker. Bunter was not afraid of the prefect now. I say, Walker, what about those tarts? He asked. You promised me some tarts for entertaining your uncle. Walker contrived somehow to restrain his feelings. He strode away, and Bunter followed him into the sixth form passage. When Walker had gone into his study, Bunter blinked in with a fat grin. I say, Walker. Walker glared at him. Pretty sort of a silly ass, aren't you? Said Bunter. What? You look no end of a silly idiot when Quelchy was slanging you, said Bunter with a chuckle. Get out of my study, hissed Walker. I'm not in your study, I'm in the passage. I say, how much did you expect to get out of your uncle? A hand dropped on Bunter's shoulder, and he was spun round. He gave Wingate of the Sixth, the captain of Greyfriars, a startled blink. Is that the way you talk to a prefect, Bunter? Asked Wingate grimly. Come with me. Oh, dear, gasped Bunter. Wingate marched the owl of the remove into his study and picked up a cane. Bend over, he said. I say, Wingate, bend over. Oh, law! Swish! Swish! William George Bunter howled and departed from the sixth form passage, a sadder, if not wiser, Bunter. I say, you fellows, don't bother. Harry Wharton had not time to waste on Billy Bunter. He was seated at the table in study number 1 in the remove, with a Virgil propped open. He was writing lines from that great Latin poet at a great rate. What is it, an impot? Asked Bunter. Wharton grunted. Do you think I'm writing out Virgil because I like it, ass? He asked. I've got 500 lines, all your fault. How is it my fault? Demanded Bunter. It's for handling Walker on the football ground this afternoon, growled the captain of the remove. He's reported us to the head, and every fellow who was there has got 500 lines. Wharton glared at the fat junior. Is it a laughing matter? He roared. Billy Bunter rolled away from the study, still chuckling. He rolled into his own study, number 7. He found Peter Todd and Tom Dutton there. Toddy was busy on lines. He was one of the footballers who had handled Walker of the 6. You got it too, asked Bunter. Yes, ass. Don't jaw. These lines have got to be taken in by 8, said Peter. It's close on time now. What about supper? Blow supper, roared Peter Todd. The heads tell us to bring in these lines at 8, and if they're not in by 8, Mr. Quelch will come round here for them. That means more lines, so give us a rest. Catch me knuckling under to a prefect, said Bunter. Who's Walker? You fat ass. I don't think you ought to call me names, Peter, because you're funky of a prefect and I'm not, said Bunter with dignity. Peter Todd did not answer that. He picked up a Latin grammar and hurled it at Bunter. Yaroo! Bunter caught the grammar with his chin and roared. Billy Bunter rubbed his fat chin and glowered at Peter Todd. It was on the stroke of 8 now. A cunning gleam came into Bunter's little round eyes. Todd, your lines have not reached me. It was a sharp, staccato voice from the passage. Peter Todd gave a jump at the well-known tones of Mr. Quelch, the master of the remove. Todd, why are not your lines done? Peter rose to his feet. The voice came from the remove passage, Bunter having left the door open. Sorry, sir, gasped Peter. Nearly done. Take 100 more lines, Todd. Oh, dear. Just at that moment, Peter Todd caught a peculiar grin on Billy Bunter's fat face. Sudden suspicion flashed into his mind. Peter jumped to the door and looked out. The remove passage was vacant. You fat villain, roared Peter. You're playing your beastly ventriloquist games on me when I haven't a second to spare. I say, keep off, roared Bunter, as Toddy rushed at him. Only a joke! Bunter dodged round the table, but Peter's foot was quicker than Bunter. It smote Bunter's tight trousers with a crash, and the owl remove was strewn on the study carpet. Whoa! Ah! Peter sat down again, jabbed his pen into the inkpot, and raced on with the lines. Todd! It was the same staccato voice again. Peter did not even look up. Todd! I have not yet received your lines, went on the sharp voice in the doorway. Will you shut up, roared Peter without even looking up. What? Shut up, you silly dummy. Todd? Peter glared up, and his glare was frozen on his face as he saw Mr. Quelch looking in at the doorway. Oh, my hat, gasped Peter. Todd! Mr. Quelch's voice trembled with wrath. What did you call me? Oh dear, you called me. Oh, sir, no, sir. Oh dear, gasped Peter. I didn't know it was you, sir. I shall take you in to the head at once, boomed Mr. Quelch. I shall insist upon a severe flogging. Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was Bunter, spluttered the hapless Peter. I did really, sir. I wouldn't call you a silly dummy for worlds, sir. The terror and distress in Peter's face were convincing. Mr. Quelch's frown relaxed. I thought it was that fat beast. I mean Bunter's ventriloquism again, sir, groaned Peter. I accept your statement, Todd, but you should be more careful, said Mr. Quelch. And I have not yet received your lines. You will take 100 more lines, Todd, and bring them to me before bedtime. Oh, dear. Yes, sir. Tubb of the Third, who had the pleasure, or otherwise, of fagging for Walker of the Six, was receiving his orders. A plum cake, yes, and a dozen tarts, yes, Walker. Billy Bunter pricked up his ears and blinked round. Walker had stopped the fag in the quadrangle. Apparently Walker was unconscious of the fact that Billy Bunter was near at hand. He handed Tubb some money, and the fag started for Mrs. Mimble's little shop. Walker strode away towards the gym. Bunter blinked after him, and blinked after Tubb. Apparently, Tubb of the Third was to convey that tuck to Walker's study for tea, and Walker was in no hurry to be there to receive it. The tuck, in fact, would be left unwatched and unguarded. The previous day, Bunter had bagged tarts in Walker's study, and Walker did not seem to have missed them. Now there was another chance. Tubb of the Third came along and went into Walker's study with a parcel under his arm. The fag came out again in a couple of minutes and walked away whistling. Bunter watched him out of sight, and then rolled cautiously along to Walker's door. Then, assured that he was unseen, he slipped into Walker's study. On Walker's table lay the parcel Tubb of the Third had just brought in. Bunter's fat hands were upon it at once. He picked it up and started for the door, and he paused. It was tea time, and he was hungry. He jerked the parcel open on the table, and in a second a fat and juicy jam tart was crunching in his teeth. Another followed, and another. Then a large chunk of the plum cake was crammed into his mouth. Bunter was enjoying himself. His mouth was full and his fat face rather sticky when the door was thrown suddenly open. Loader of the sixth form looked in. Bunter's jaws ceased to move. Loader grinned. "So I've caught you," he said. Mumbled Bunter. "Stealing what?" Billy Bunter bolted the mouthful of tart. I say, don't tell Walker." Gerald Loader laughed. "You can wait here for him, Bunter," he said agreeably. He put the door key in the outside of the lock. Slam! The door closed, and Loader turned the key in the lock, and he walked away laughing. "Oh dear," groaned Bunter. He was fairly caught now. Even on Billy Bunter's obtuse brain it had dawned that he had fallen into a trap. The ventriloquial incident was closed. So Walker had bided his time with this outcome. Bunter knew now that Walker had deliberately spoken to Tubb in his hearing, and then walked off the scene in order to tempt him to his fall, leaving his pal Loader to keep an eye on the study. It seemed an age to the apprehensive owl before he heard footsteps outside, but it was only a few minutes. The key was turned back, and the study door thrown open. Walker of the Six grinned into the study. Bunter eyed him uneasily. "Loader tells me he caught you in my study, bagging my tuck, Bunter," he remarked cheerily. I haven't." Walker looked at the parcel. "A good bit of the cake has gone, and 6 of the tarts," he remarked. "You had them." No. "Then Tubb of the Third must have been nibbling," said Walker. "Both of you can come with me to the head." Bunter's fat knees knocked together. I don't want to go to the head, Walker," he gasped. "No? You'd rather I dealt with you personally?" asked Walker, with an agreeable smile. Yes," groaned Bunter. "Well, I don't mind. Bend over." Walker picked up a cane. Billy Bunter, with dismal forebodings, bent over the chair. Whack! Woo! "Stop that row," said Walker. Whack! 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 Wah! Ah! Ooh! Ah! roared Bunter. "Dear man," smiled Walker, "do you wish now that you hadn't played giddy ventriloquial tricks on my uncle?" What? Whack! 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 Wah! Oh! Ah! Often and often Bunter had to bend over in the course of his fat career. It was no new experience for him. But to keep bending while he received such terrific whacks as these was more than flesh and blood could stand. Billy Bunter reached up and dodged around the study and fled for the door. Walker's grasp was on his collar in a second. "I'm not finished yet, Bunter." "Yaroo! Help! Fire! Murder!" roared Bunter. Walker of the Six held Bunter by the collar with his left hand, and with his right he plied the cane. He put beef into it. Wingate looked in with a frowning brow. "What the thump is all this?" he demanded. Whack! 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 "Bunter's been caught stealing," explained Walker. "I thought I'd better give him a lesson." "What has he stolen?" demanded the captain of Greyfriars. "Cakes and tarts." "Don't be a silly ass, Walker," said Wingate brusquely. "If the fat young rascal has been bagging your tuck, that's not stealing. He deserves a thumping good licking, but you've given him enough. Let him go." Whack! Whack! "Do you hear me, Walker?" Walker eyed the captain of the school surlily, but he lowered the cane. "I dare say he's had enough," he assented. "You can cut, Bunter. Keep out of my study after this, if you know what's good for you." Billy Bunter squirmed out of the study. Peter Todd stepped into study number 7. Billy Bunter was standing there, mumbling and moaning. "What on earth's the matter?" asked Toddy. "Is it a pain in your little circumference?" "Oh, I'm hurt." "You don't look as if you've been enjoying life," agreed Peter. "But what is it? Why don't you sit down?" I shan't sit down again today," groaned Bunter. Oh, Peter Todd chuckled. "Oh, it's a licking. Oh, yes, that beast Walker." roared Peter Todd. "Didn't you tell me you weren't afraid of a giddy prefect?" He proceeded to prepare the study table for a spread. He had the famous five coming to tea, and the famous five were fellows whom Peter delighted to honour. Tom Dutton came in to help. He brought a large parcel from the school shop. Bunter blinked at the good things that were being unpacked with lack-lustre eyes. There was a tramp of feet in the passage, and Harry Wharton and Co. came along, and 5 cheery faces looked into study number 7. Billy Bunter gave a deep groan. The company stared at him. "Hello, hello, hello! What's that ghastly row?" asked Bob Cherry. "Is Bunter understudying the great huge bear?" "I say, you fellows, I'm in awful pain," groaned Bunter. "The beast Walker has given me a fearful licking. He made out that I'd bagged his cake and tarts. You fellows know whether I'd touch a fellow's tuck." "We do. We does," chuckled Johnny Bull. "The knowfulness is terrific," grinned Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh. Over tea, Bunter explained to the famous five the iniquitous duplicity of Walker of the Six. Harry Wharton and Co. chuckled. "Walker's rather a cat," said Wharton, "but you shouldn't have played tricks on his uncle, and you shouldn't have bagged his tart. You've only got yourself to blame." Bunter glared. "Does that mean that you're not going to take the matter up?" he demanded. "Just that. Keep your hands from picking and stealing, old fat man," suggested Bob Cherry, "and you'll be all right. Hear, hear." Billy Bunter gave them a truculent blink. "Well, I'm going to take the matter into my own hands, and if you don't like the result, you can lump it. I know what I'm going to do." "What's that, Fatty?" "That's telling," said Bunter mysteriously. It was Saturday afternoon, a fine and sunny winter afternoon, and nearly everybody was out of doors. James Walker of the sixth form was kept in his study by the stern necessity of mugging up Livy. He had not the slightest desire for a closer acquaintance with Titus Livius, and he was absolutely indifferent to the history of Rome, but it was a case of needs must. The head had been taking Walker very severely to task in the sixth form room that morning, and Walker had been through it. He was filled with a ferocious hatred of Titus Livius and dreary hours of Latin. In this pleasant mood, Walker was startled by a sudden sound at his study door. It was the click of a key turning in the lock. He frowned. It was rather a surprising incident. The key should naturally have been in the inside of the door. Apparently, however, it was now on the outside. It seemed he was locked in his study. Walker breathed hard. He grasped the door handle and shook it. The door did not move. Undoubtedly, it had been locked on the outside. "Who's there? Who's locked my door?" he shouted. "My esteemed Walker," came a voice from the passage outside. Walker jumped. He recognized the voice, and he easily recognized the peculiar mode of speech. There was only one fellow at Greyfriars who talked like that, and it was not likely to occur to Walker that a fat ventriloquist was imitating the well-known lingo of Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh, the Indian Juno of the Remove. "Hurry Singh, you young rascal! My esteemed fathead Walker." "What?" roared Walker. "I have lawfully fastened you to your esteemed study, my excellent and most execrable fathead." "You cheeky young villain! Rats! You young scoundrel! Unlock this door at once, or I'll give you the licking of your life," roared Walker. "Bosh! You couldn't lick a rabbit, my esteemed funky Walker." I, stuttered Walker. "Shut up!" Walker stared at the locked door, almost dazed. Did you say shut up?" gasped Walker. "Yes, you are a funk and a bully and a beastly cad, Walker." "I'm dreaming this," murmured the dazed prefect. Really, it was rather difficult to believe his ears. "You funk at football, my esteemed cowardly Walker." "Unlock this door!" shrieked Walker, almost in a frenzy. "Go and eat coke, Walker." Walker grasped the door handle with both hands and dragged at it frantically, but the locked door refused to budge. Walker gave it up and rushed across the study to the window. It was rather a jump from the study window to the ground, and rather an undignified mode of exit for a sixth form prefect, but Walker did not care about that. There was a crash as the window was thrown up. Walker of the Sixth leaped out. The crash of the window was followed by the hurried retreat of the junior in the passage. But it was not Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh who retreated. It was Billy Bunter, who had so skilfully and unscrupulously imitated the voice of the Nabob of Banipur. Harry Wharton and Co. sauntered cheerily in at the gates of Greyfriars. The famous five had walked down to Cliff House School that afternoon, and Marjorie and Clara had joined them on the rambling along the cliffs. Now they were returning from their walk, and thinking chiefly of tea in study number 1. Skinner of the Removed called to them as they came in. Harold Skinner was grinning. "Look out for Walker." "Hello, hello. What's the matter with Walker?" inquired Bob Cherry. "Of course you don't know," grinned Skinner. "Of course we don't know. We've been out of the gates all the afternoon," answered Bob. "Anything up?" "Oh, lots," chuckled Skinner. "Inky had better put some exercise book into his bags before he sees Walker." The Nabob of Bannerpaw looked surprised. The famous five walked across to the schoolhouse. Lord Malvera was sunning himself on the steps. "Better keep out of Walker's way, you fellows," he said. "What on earth for?" demanded Nugent. "Well, after the way Inky slanged him." "My esteemed Molly," said Harry Jamsit Ramsing, "I have not spoken wordfully to the esteemed and idiotic Walker today." Lord Malvera stared. "Oh, begad," he ejaculated. "Well, I was only warning you. Walker's raging about it. He's been looking for you all over the school." "Looking for Inky?" exclaimed Bob. "Yes, he says Inky was slanging him in the study. What rot!" Harry, Wharton and Co. went into study number 1. They sat down contentedly to tea, dismissing the matter from their minds. But a few minutes later, Hazeldine of the Remove looked in at the open door. "Inky here?" he asked. "The hearfulness is terrific. Look out, Walker's coming. He's got a big cane with him," he said. "But I suppose you expected a row after what you did." Hazel strolled away, and a few minutes later, Walker of the Six reached the study. His face was red, and his brow like a thundercloud. He had a cane gripped in his hand as he strode into Harry Wharton's study. "You black scoundrel!" "My esteemed and cheeky Walker, what on earth's the matter?" said Harry. "I dare say you know all about it," sneered Walker. "Bend over, Hurry Singh." Walker flourished the cane. Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh regarded him with surprise, but calmly. Juniors were supposed to bend over when ordered, to do so by sixth form prefects. "My esteemed Walker," he said. "Nuff said, bend over," roared Walker. "The bendfulness will not be terrific, my ludicrous Walker." "Look here, Walker," exclaimed Bob Cherry, "what's Inky done?" "You know jolly well what he's done. Anyhow, he knows. Hurry Singh, get to that chair and bend over." The nabob shook his dusky head. "I declinefully refuse." "For the last time," roared Walker. "You're not jolly well going to lick Inky for nothing," exclaimed Harry Wharton indignantly. "We're standing by you, Inky, old man." "Yes, rather." The famous five were all on their feet now, and all angry and indignant. But they were not so angry as Walker. He made a rush at Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh and grasped the dusky junior by the collar. Swish! The cane came down with a terrific swipe, and the yell of Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh could have been heard far beyond the limits of the Removed passage. "Rescue!" shouted Bob Cherry. "Collar the bully! Down him!" shouted Wharton. Walker of the Six had no time for a second swipe. He was collared on all sides by the excited juniors, and he came down to the floor of study number 1 with a crash and a roar. Like wildfire, the news spread through the Remove that the famous five in study number 1 were handling a prefect. The Remove rolled up almost to a man to see the show. "It's Walker. They're ragging him. My hat! There'll be a row about this," gasped Skinner. Walker roared with anguish. He, James Walker of the Six, a prefect of Greyfriars, was struggling in the grasp of 5 angry juniors, and struggling in vain. His head, the head of the sixth form prefect, was being banged on the study floor. "Give him chip!" panted Bob Cherry. "Let go!" spluttered Walker. "Stop it! I'll smash you! I'll report you to the head!" "Go to it!" yelled Snoop. "The head will bug you for this, so take it out of Walker while you can!" "Help!" roared Walker. The sixth former was a burly fellow, but he had no chance against 5 juniors, all in a warlike and determined mood. "I say, you fellows," Billy Bunter grinned into the study through the buzzing crowd, "Wingate's coming." The famous 5 did not heed. Fiendish yells rang out from the hapless Walker as his head smote the study carpet again and again. That was the sound and the sight that greeted George Wingate, captain of Greyfriars, as he arrived at the doorway of Harry Wharton's study. "What does this mean?" roared Wingate. The panting juniors backed across the study. Walker sprawled and gasped and panted. Wingate stooped and grasped him and held him to his feet. Walker stood unsteadily with one hand on the study table, gasping and gasping. Wingate eyed the famous five grimly. "This is about the limit," he said. "I won't ask you to explain this to me. You can explain to the head." "We," began Wharton. "That's enough. Come, Walker." Walker left the study, leaning heavily on the captain of Greyfriars. The Removites crowded behind the two prefects as they went, howling with laughter. In study number 1, Barry Wharton and co. were certainly not laughing. They realized only too clearly that the matter was serious. "Well," said Bob Cherry with a deep breath, "we've done it now." Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh rubbed his dusky nose where Walker's knuckles had landed with effect. "The downfall is terrific," he remarked. "We'd have done the same again," said Harry Wharton. "Walker's not going to bully this company." "But it's up to the head now," said Nugent dismally. "The head always backs up the prefects." "I say, you fellows," squeaked Bunter from the passage, "Quelch is coming for you." "Let him come," grunted Bob. The removed master's face was cold and stern as he glanced into the study. "You will follow me to the head," he said. "All of you were concerned in this riot. Dr. Locke intends to deal with you immediately." "Very well, sir," said Harry. The famous five, in rather dismal spirits, followed the removed master to the staircase. The removed fellows were left in a buzz of excitement. What would happen to Harry Wharton & Co. was a burning question in the form to which they belonged. "Well, they've asked for it," said Billy Bunter in study number 6. "They've fairly asked for it, haven't they, Toddy?" Peter Todd grunted. He was feeling concerned and anxious. "If they backed me up when I asked them and made Walker sit up for licking me, it wouldn't have happened," argued Bunter. "I warned them." Toddy stared at him. "What do you mean, Bunter? You hadn't anything to do with this, had you?" "Oh, no, of course not," said Bunter hastily. "Nothing of the kind. I've been out of the gates all afternoon." "You haven't? What have you been up to?" asked Peter suspiciously. "Nothing." Peter Todd eyed his fat study-mate with deep suspicion. Bunter realized that he had talked a little too much, not an uncommon occurrence with him. Meanwhile, the famous five had arrived at the head study. Dr. Locke fixed a stern look on the chums of the Remove. Seldom had the five seen the kindly old head looking so angry and severe. "Wharton and you others, I can scarcely credit the report I have received from Wingate and Walker. Is it possible that you lower fourth boys have ventured to attack a sixth-form prefect in your study, to assault him with violence?" "We didn't begin it, sir," said Bob Cherry. "What? I mean, Walker informs me that he visited your study, Wharton to inflict a well-deserved punishment upon Hurry Jamsit Ram Singh. Hurry Singh refused to take his punishment, and you all supported him in his refusal and attacked Walker. You do not deny this?" "No, sir," said Harry. "If you have any explanation to give the head, Wharton, give it at once," said Mr. Quelch. "Certainly, sir. We think we did right," said Harry. "What?" exclaimed Dr. Locke. "Walker came to my study to bully Hurry Singh, who was having tea there," said the captain of the Remove. "He was whacking Inky for nothing. We were bound to stop him." "Were you not aware of the offence Hurry Singh had given, Wharton?" "Inky had done nothing, sir." "The nothingfulness was great." Dr. Locke raised his hand. "Walker informs me that this afternoon, while he was working in his study, Hurry Singh locked him in and shouted a series of insulting words to him through the locked door. He continued this unheard-of insolence until Walker left the study by the window and came round to the door. By punishing Hurry Singh himself, Walker was really dealing lightly with the matter." The famous five blinked at the head. Harry Singer's eyes opened so wide that the whites of them gleamed in startled contrast to his dusky face. "You understand now, Wharton?" "No, sir," gasped Harry. "It never happened, sir." "What?" "If Walker told you so, sir, he hasn't told you the truth," said the captain of the Remove. Walker's face became crimson. "Dr. Locke," he stuttered, am I to listen to this?" The sixth former fairly spluttered. "Calm yourself, Walker. I am not likely to take the slightest heed of such a statement, said the head. Wharton, how dare you? Walker must have made a mistake somehow, sir, said Harry. He did it, if he thinks that Inky locked him in his study this afternoon. I can't believe he's lying, but he's made a silly mistake. Harry Singe, do you deny locking Walker into his study? Certain fully honoured, Sahib. You deny shouting opprobrious epithets to Walker through the locked door of his study, Harry Singe? The deniefulness is great. Walker, you are absolutely certain that you recognized Harry Singe's voice? Absolutely, sir, gasped the prefect. Besides, there's only one chap in the school who speaks in such queer English. The esteemed Walker is mistaken, said the nabob warmly. I speak the fine and best English learned under the most knowing moonshine of Banipur. The queerfulness is a boot in the leg. The head's face twitched for a moment. May I speak, sir? Exclaimed Harry. You have nothing to say, Wharton. Harry Singe was with us all the afternoon, sir, said Wharton. We went out of the gate soon after dinner and came in at tea-time. That is impossible, Wharton, in view of what Walker tells me, said the head sternly. Wharton flushed crimson. There are plenty of witnesses, sir. Let Walker say at what time he heard Harry Singe at his door. It was 4 o'clock, snapped Walker. That settles it, exclaimed Bob Cherry. We were still at Cliff House at 4 o'clock. We just walked back here with Marjorie and Clara. Inky was with us, sir. Impossible. A lot of the girls there saw us, sir, said Harry, and we spoke to Miss Primrose, the head of Cliff House. If you care to ring her up on the telephone, sir, she will tell you that Harry Singe was in the garden at Cliff House at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Walker looked perplexed and startled. The head a little nonplussed. The telephone was at his elbow, and the matter was easily put to the test. "One moment, sir," said Mr. Quelch, as Dr. Locke stretched out his hand to the receiver. The head looked at him. "It occurs to me that it is possible that a trick has been played," said the remove master. "Walker is certainly speaking what he believes to be the truth. My experience of these boys, however, is that they are extremely unlikely to resort to falsehood. There is a boy in my form, sir, who has a trick of imitating voices with remarkable accuracy." Walker gave a jump. "Bunter!" he ejaculated. "That fat beast of a ventriloquist!" The suggestion was enough for Walker. He understood. A minute later, Trotter, the page, was sent to fetch Master Bunter to the head's study. Billy Bunter entered the head's presence with a woeful expression of doubt and dismay on his fat countenance. "Bunter," said the head quietly. "Yes, sir? No, sir. I didn't," gasped Bunter. "You did not what?" "Anything, sir. I mean nothing. I wasn't there." "You were not where, Bunter?" exclaimed the head in perplexity. "Anywhere, sir. I mean nowhere," gasped Bunter. "Collect yourself, Bunter," said Dr. Locke severely. "I desire to put a few questions to you. You will answer them truthfully, and if you do so you have nothing to fear if you are innocent." Bunter suppressed a groan. "You will have justice, Bunter," said the head kindly. "Oh, dear," mumbled Bunter. As a matter of fact, it was just what he feared. "Did you play this trick on Walker, Bunter?" asked Mr. Quelch. "No, sir. I never even thought of it," said Bunter. I wasn't in the sixth form passage at all. I was out at the gates all afternoon." "That is not correct, Bunter," said the remove master sternly. "I myself saw you in one of the passages this afternoon." That's what I mean to say, sir," stuttered Bunter. I was in one of the passages all the afternoon." "Oh, my hat," murmured Bob Cherry. And as for imitating Hurry Singh's voice, I couldn't do it, sir," said Bunter. "I'm not really a ventriloquist at all. It's all a mistake, sir. Besides, I told these chaps they ought to back me up, and they wouldn't like the result if they didn't, and they can't deny it." "Bless my soul," repeated the head, looking at Billy Bunter very curiously. "I warned them," said Bunter. "They'd admit it if you asked them, sir. They said I asked for the licking for bagging Walker's tarts. I never bagged them, and besides, Walker put them there specially to catch me bagging them." "Upon my word," said Mr. Quelch, Bunter, will you make an effort and try and tell Dr. Locke the truth, if you are capable of telling the truth? Certainly, sir. As my foremast, you can bear witness that I am the most truthful and honourable chap in the remove, sir. Oh, dear. I deny the whole thing, sir, went on Bunter. I'm as innocent as a babe, sir. I really am. I never got hold of Walker's study key while he was talking to Loader in the quad. It never occurred to me to put it in the outside of his door, and as for watching him when he went to his study to swat, I didn't do it. I was in my own study at the time. What time, Bunter? Gasped the head. At the time Walker went to his study, sir. If you were in your own study at the time, how do you know the time Walker went to his study? Bunter gasped. I didn't, sir. I never knew. I wasn't aware that Walker went to his study at all. That's what I really meant to say, sir. I hope you can take my word. Take your word, repeated the head dazedly. Bunter, he exclaimed, your extraordinary prevarication leaves no doubt on the matter. You played this impertinent trick upon a sixth-form prefect, and basely allowed the blame to fall upon Hurry Singh, who knew nothing of it. It's clear now, sir, said Walker. Quite clear, I think, said Mr. Quelch. Billy Bunter blinked from one face to another. He was more and more dismayed. I assure you, sir, it's all a mistake, he gasped. I wouldn't dream of slanging Walker and saying such things to him, sir. I wouldn't throw it in his face that he funks at football. Not for worlds, sir. Walker crimsoned, and the famous five grinned. Was a remark to that effect made at your door on this occasion, Walker? Asked the head. Yes, sir, gasped Walker. Then Bunter must have been there, or he could not be aware of what was said. Certainly, sir. Bunter, you have condemned yourself. You need say no more. It may be my duty to send you away from Greyfriars. Oh, dear. At the very least, I shall administer a severe flogging. Oh, I shall consider the matter, and you shall know my decision tomorrow morning, said the head. You may go. I say, sir, being innocent, go, thundered the head. And Billy Bunter quaked and went. Billy Bunter did not look happy the next morning. Generally, he was very cheerful on a Sunday. You will now go to the head's study, Bunter, said Mr. Quelch, after an hour of Milton's Paradise Lost. Oh, dear. Bunter rolled dismally out of the classroom after the removites. A good many of the juniors were grinning, just as if this were not a serious matter at all. It was fearfully serious to W.G. Bunter. I say, you fellows, groaned Bunter, what's a fellow to do? Go to the head, of course, said Harry Wharton. And buck up, advised Bob Cherry. The beak doesn't like to be kept waiting. You don't want to go to the head? Inquired Peter Todd. Oh, no. Sort of feel that you can't drag yourself there? That's just it, Toddy. Well, I'll help you out, old fat man. I'll kick you all the way to the head's study. Beast! Billy Bunter rolled away to the head's corridor. He reached the head's door and stopped. Twice he raised a fat paw to tap, and twice his courage failed him. The head was expecting him, and certainly the head did not like to be kept waiting. The owl of the remove heard the sound of a movement in the study. The door suddenly opened. Dr. Locke came striding out, perhaps to seek Bunter. He strode fairly into the fat junior. Bump! Oh, crumbs! Ejaculated Bunter. Bless my soul! I stuttered Bunter. I've come, sir. I've waited more than 5 minutes for you, Bunter, exclaimed Dr. Locke. How dare you keep your headmaster waiting? I didn't step into my study, Bunter. Oh, dear. Bunter's fat and lugubrious face might have moved the heart of a stone statue, but the head was angry. Perhaps, like the prophet of old, he considered that he did well to be angry. His eyes fixed on Bunter's face ruthlessly. Bunter, I have considered your case, he said. You have acted in a despicable manner, Bunter. Oh, sir. For the sake of your relatives, Bunter, I shall not send you away from Greyfriars. Oh, dear. I have decided, therefore, to administer a flogging, said the head. It will take place before classes tomorrow morning. This punishment, I hope, will be a warning to you. You have been guilty of reckless prevarication, of disrespect to the prefects and to your headmaster, and you have very nearly caused an innocent boy to be punished for your fault. You certainly deserve to be expelled. I trust, however, that a flogging will meet the case." The head paused. Doubtless he expected Bunter to look immensely relieved. "If you please, sir," gasped Bunter, "couldn't you make it the sack?" "Make it the sack?" repeated the head dazedly. "Yes, sir. Make it the sack. You see, Boy! Do you mean that you would prefer to be expelled from the school?" thundered the head. "That's it, sir," said Bunter eagerly. "Ever so much, sir." "Are you totally regardless of bringing disgrace upon your name and family?" "Yes, sir. I mean, Bunter stuttered. I mean, I'd rather go home, sir. You see, sir, I should have a few weeks at least before I was sent to another school, and that would be so much to the good." "Bless my soul," said the head faintly. "And then I might get into a better school than this." A better school than Greyfriars?" gasped the head. "That's it, sir. Very likely a much better one, with a headmaster who would know my value." "Upon my word!" Dr. Locke looked fixedly at Bunter for a few moments. His hands strayed to a cane. Then he remembered that it was Sunday. "Bunter," he said at last, "I shall not expel you from Greyfriars. I shall flog you tomorrow morning in the presence of the school. And on account of the impertinence you have just uttered, I shall make the flogging considerably more severe than I had originally intended. Oh, Lord, now you may go, Bunter." Bunter rolled down the corridor in the depths of woe. He was fairly up against it now, and the universe seemed to him a dismal place. It really was extraordinary. Bunter was going to be flogged before classes in the morning in Big Hall. He was to be taken up by Gosling while the head laid on the birch before the eyes of all the school. Form rooms and passages were to ring to his wails. Greyfriars was to echo to the sound of his woe, and fellows went on the even tenor of their way, just as if it did not matter. Vernon Smith of the Remove, passing Bunter in the quad, actually grinned at the sight of his dismal, woe-begone face. The bounder of Greyfriars actually seemed to find his lugubriousness entertaining. That really was the limit. "You never know, fellows, till you find them out," he said bitterly to Peter Todd. Toddy stared at him. "What does that mean, if it means anything?" he inquired. "I'm going to be flogged tomorrow morning." Toddy nodded. "Yes, I know. Now you remind me." He assented. "What about it?" "What about it?" repeated Bunter. "Did you say, what about it?" "That's exactly what I said. What about it?" "You utter beast!" Billy Bunter rolled into study number 1 that evening for comfort. There were toasted scones with fresh butter and coffee in study number 1, and the famous 5 had gathered there to dispose of them before dawn, with the youthful reckless discard of the fact that coffee is an enemy to sleep. Bunter found some comfort in the toasted scones, but as he munched, his fat face was full of woe. "About that flogging, you fellows," he said. "What flogging?" asked Bob Cherry. "The flogging tomorrow morning in Big Hall." "My hat! Is some fellow booked for a flogging?" asked Bob innocently. Bunter breathed hard. "I am, you beast," he said. "I've told you so about a dozen times today at least." "Dash it all! Fellows have been flogged before," growled Johnny Bull. "But what's all the fuss about?" "The fussfulness really is terrific," remarked Hurry Jamsid Ram Singh. "The fact is, I am not going to be flogged," said Bunter, blinking at the famous 5. "You fellows remember once before I was up against it, and I left the school for a time." "And jolly well had to be brought back," grinned Bob. "I'm not going to take a flogging. The trouble is that if I go home, my pater will send me back here," said Bunter sorrowfully. "I know he'd rather have me flogged than sacked." "Of course he would. So I can't go home. I'm going to go into the wide world." "Oh, my hat! The cold, cruel world," said Bunter pathetically. "The least you fellas can do is to lend me a few pounds." "Oh, we can do less than that," grinned Nugent. "You see, we can lend you nothing at all." "If you're going to be mean, we are. We is." "Well, if anything happens to me, remember you're responsible," said Bunter. "If I starve and waste away to skin and bone, That would take years and years, said Bob Cherry, comfortingly. Your fat would last you ever so long. Billy Bunter blinked ferociously at the famous 5. The scones were finished. There was nothing more to be had in study number 1 but merriment, and Bunter did not want that. He rose to go. As he rose, he gave a fat little cough to clear his podgy throat for ventriloquial effort. "How dare you make such a noise in this study?" came a sharp, rapping voice from the passage. "Disgraceful! Take 100 lines each and hand them into my study after classes tomorrow." "Oh, my hat! Quelchy," breathed Bob. The merriment died away suddenly in study number 1. But Harry Wharton, with a quick, suspicious glance at Bunter, stepped to the door and looked out. He had been caught by the Greyfriars ventriloquist before. There was no sign of Mr. Quelch in the removed passage. "All serene, you fellows," he said. "It's Bunter." "Ventriloquism again," roared Johnny Bull. "By Jove, I'll—" Bunter retreated down the passage. Wharton drew a deep breath. "The harder the head lays it on tomorrow morning, the better, in my opinion. Hear, hear!" And that, indeed, was a general opinion in the Greyfriars Remove. The rising bell was ringing out over Greyfriars School on Monday morning. Bob Cherry was the first out of bed in the Remove dormitory, and Bob, being first up, was the first to observe that there was an empty bed. Bunter's bed was vacant. Bob Cherry stared at it in amazement. For William George Bunter to be up before rising bell was amazing. Indeed, it was a portent. But the bed was empty. It was not only empty, but cold. It had been vacant a long time. Billy Bunter was not only up, but he had evidently been up overnight. "Well, my hat!" ejaculated Bob. "What's the row?" yawned Peter Todd. "Bunter's gone." "What?" Peter jumped out of bed. His example was followed by a dozen more fellows. "There's a letter on the pillow," exclaimed Ogilvy. He picked up the letter. It ran, "Rotters! I'm going. I refuse to be flogged, especially when I'm innocent, and it was only a joke all the time. You're a lot of unsympathetic beasts. I despise you. Yours contemptuously, W.G. Bunter. P.S. I scorn the lot of you." Harry Wharton & Co. stared at the epistle to the Removites and chortled. Bunter's farewell seemed to entertain them. "He was gassing yesterday about running away from school," said Wharton. "He wanted to borrow money to run away on," grinned Bob, "but we didn't lend him any." "But he couldn't bolt away without any money," said Frank Nugent, "and he never had any money." "He's not gone," said Vernon Smith. "We shall find him downstairs, all right." "Most likely," said Harry. But the Owl of the Remove was not to be seen. "Bound to turn up for morning prayer," said Bob. But Bunter did not turn up for prayers. "Absolutely certain to turn up for brekker," said the bounder, and all the Remove fellows agreed. But Bunter did not turn up for breakfast. It really looked as if Bunter's farewell letter had been written in earnest, and the Owl of the Remove had taken French leave. Once upon a time, the juniors remembered Bunter had bunked in fear of a flogging, and it looked as if history had repeated itself. Traces of him, however, were discovered in the Removed passage. The study cupboard in number 4 had been fairly sacked. Vernon Smith had a good supply of things there, and Bunter had taken the lot. On the door of the bounder's cupboard, a farewell word was scrawled in chalk. "Beast!" That, apparently, was Bunter's thanks for the supplies he had appropriated. "The cheeky, fat villain," said the bounder wrathfully. "Why, I'll burst him if he ever comes back." Other traces were soon found. Lord Malvera's coat was missing. Morley had left his handsome fur-lined overcoat hanging on a hook in study number 12. In study number 1, Harry Wharton found that some of his warmest winter clothes had been borrowed. In their place, Bunter had left a chalked message. It was scrawled on the looking-glass. "I've borrowed a few things. They will be returned later. Go and eat Coke." Harry Wharton burst into a laugh. "He's really gone," he said. "The gun for this is terrific." "Good riddance," said Skinner. "The silly ass will be found and brought back, and he will get the flogging," said Bob Cherry. The bell for classes was ringing. The Removites hurried down to their form room. But when they took their places, one place was vacant. Mr. Quelch came in and glanced over the class and frowned. "Wharton, why is not Bunter here?" I don't know, sir. I haven't seen him." Mr. Quelch knitted his brows. Before he could speak again, there was a stately tread in the passage, and Dr. Locke entered the form-room. He bowed to Mr. Quelch and turned his majestic glance upon the silent remove. "Bunter! Stand forward, Bunter!" A pin might have been heard to drop then in the remove form-room. Dr. Locke waited. A frown gathered on his brow. He had not yet observed that Bunter was not in class. Indeed, it was not likely to occur to him that the fat junior would dare to absent himself on such an occasion. Mr. Quelch coughed. "Bunter is not present, sir," he said. "What?" "The boy is absent." "Absent?" repeated the head, as if he could not believe his ears. Possibly he couldn't. "I'm sorry, sir, but he is certainly absent," said the remove master. "Is this possible, Mr. Quelch? Is it possible that the boy has ventured to absent himself at the risk of wasting my time?" exclaimed the head in astonishment. The removites dared not grin. Mr. Quelch coughed again. "This is unprecedented," said the head. "If the boy is not here, Mr. Quelch, where is he?" "I am not aware at present, Dr. Locke. I was about to inquire on the form." "Quite so." The head transferred his majestic attention to the remove. "Wharton, you are head boy of the form. Do you know where Bunter is?" "No, sir." "When did you last see him?" "Last night, sir, when we went to bed." "Bless my soul! I suppose he has been seen this morning," exclaimed the head testily. "Has any boy present seen him this morning?" "No, sir." "This is extraordinary, Wharton. Have you any idea what has become of Bunter?" Wharton hesitated, but it was clear that the facts had to be known. "We found this letter on Bunter's pillow this morning, sir," he said, and he held out the owl's farewell letter. Dr. Locke took it and glanced at it. Amazement was imprinted upon his face. In amazed silence he handed the letter to Mr. Quelch. The remove master perused it with compressed lips and glinting eyes. "Upon my word," said Dr. Locke, "is it possible that Bunter has run away from school?" "It would appear so from this, sir," said Mr. Quelch. "Shocking!" exclaimed the head. Mr. Quelch coloured. Bunter was in his form, and he was to some extent responsible for the proceedings of the fatuous owl. The serious and solemn occasion due for enactment in the hall was becoming just a trifle ridiculous. The remove was there, the head was there, Gosling was there with the head's birch, the rest of the school were awaiting the summons to Big Hall, but Bunter was not there. Without Bunter, it was obvious that the flogging could not proceed. Matters were at an impasse. A red spot glowed in either cheek of the head. "Bunter must be found at once, Mr. Quelch," he said at last. "Most certainly, sir." "Doubtless, as his form master, you will take the matter in hand, Mr. Quelch," said the head. "If it is your wish, certainly." "No doubt a sixth-form prefect will relieve you in your form-room, Mr. Quelch. Let the matter be seen to at once." Dr. Locke swept out of the remove room. The porter Gosling gave a grunt. He seemed disappointed. Mr. Quelch gave him a sharp look. "You may go, Gosling," he said. "Your services will now not be required." Then Mr. Quelch fixed his eyes on the remove. "I shall be occupied elsewhere this morning," said Mr. Quelch. "I shall request Wingate of the Sixth to take my place here. I trust that complete order will be kept if it should prove otherwise." Mr. Quelch did not finish. He left the rest to the imagination of the remove. "No news?" "None. He's gone." Classes were over for the day, and the remove fellows in the rag were discussing Bunter. It had been a trying afternoon. Mr. Quelch had returned unsuccessful from his quest. That he was unsuccessful was obvious from the circumstances, that he did not bring Billy Bunter back with him. In the afternoon he returned to his form master's duties, and that his temper was tart, not to say tartaric, was soon very clear. Mr. Quelch was a just man, not for untold gold or any other consideration, told or untold, would he have inflicted undeserved punishment upon any fellow. But when he was in a tartaric temper, he was wont to inflict deserved punishment more frequently and emphatically than at times when his temper was unruffled. So that afternoon There was an atmosphere of thunder in the removed form room, and frequently the thunder rolled. Harry Wharton received 100 lines for whispering to Nugent. Vernon Smith was the next victim, with 200 lines for not answering immediately he was spoken to. Peter Todd came third, with an impot for shuffling his feet. Sidney James Snoop next drew his wrath for Mr. Quelch for not having washed his hands. Snoop's hands, and indeed all Snoop, left much to be desired in the way of cleanliness. He deserved to land into trouble, but undoubtedly it was Bunter's delinquency that made the trouble so severe for Snoop. Snoop had been unwashed before, without so much fuss being made. He had captured lines on that account. Now he was caned, and sent out of the form room especially to wash. It was by sheer ill luck that Bob Cherry let a heavy geography book fall to the floor soon afterwards. The crash of the falling volume seemed like thunder to the startled juniors. Bob had 2 burning hands to rub for a long time afterwards. "Oh, my hat! This is getting thick," Peter Todd murmured. "Todd!" Mr. Quelch's ears seemed as sharp as his eyes that afternoon. "Oh, dear. Yes, sir?" "You were speaking to Field?" "Yes, sir." Archie's O'Bean, murmured the bounder incautiously. Mr. Quelch's eye glittered at him. "Did you speak, Vernon Smith?" The bounder started. Yes, sir." "And what did you say to Todd?" "I said it was hard cheese, sir," said Vernon Smith calmly. The bounder of Greyfriars faced his angry form master quite coolly. The form always expected nerve from the bounder. "And what did you mean by that slangy expression, Vernon Smith?" I meant that it was rather rotten for Toddy, sir." "Can you speak English, Smith?" "I hope so, sir." "I hope so also, Vernon Smith. If you can speak English, kindly do so, and refrain from the use of vulgar slang." "Right-ho, sir." "What? What did you say?" "I said right-ho, sir." "Stand out before the class, Vernon Smith." "Swish! Swish! You will remember, Vernon Smith, not to use such an expression to your form master again." "Right-o, sir." "What?" roared Mr. Quelch. "Right-o, sir," said the bounder deliberately. The cool impertinence of the bounder and the concentrated wrath in Mr. Quelch's face proved too much for the juniors. They laughed. That laugh was fairly frozen on their lips by the icy glare they received from their form master. There was sudden silence. "So, this form regards impertinence as amusing," said Mr. Quelch. "Ah! We shall see. Hold out your hand again, Vernon Smith." "Right-o, sir," said the bounder hardily. But the swipe that came down on the bounder's palm really made him wish that he had not carried his little joke so far. He went back to his place looking quite pale. After that, the Greyfriars removed fairly walked in fear and trembling. "I never thought I should miss Bunter," said Harry Wharton that evening. "But if this is going on, I shall be jolly glad to see Bunter back again. What ho! Even Bunter is better than this," said Hazeldine dismally. "What a life," groaned Lord Malvera. The Removites were feeling sore in every sense of the word. The telephone bell rang in Dr. Locke's study, and the head took up the receiver with a jerk. The head of Greyfriars was not in his usual placid temper. The affair of Bunter had worried him considerably and annoyed him deeply. His authority had been set at naught, and somewhere in the wide world there was a truant junior who might get himself into serious trouble, which would mean even more trouble for his headmaster. He jerked off the receiver. Earlier that day he had telephoned to Mr. Bunter to ask whether Billy Bunter had gone home, but Mr. Bunter was in the city. Mr. Bunter was a stockbroker and a very busy gentleman, and he was not at home to answer the head. "Hello? Is that Greyfriars?" "Yes, Dr. Locke speaking. Is that Mr. Bunter?" Yes, sir. I've received a message. It seems that my son has left school. Is that correct?" "Quite correct, Mr. Bunter. Has your son arrived home?" "No, sir, he has not. Should he do so, I shall chastise him severely and send him back at once." "Very good, Mr. Bunter. But he has left Greyfriars without permission and is still absent." "I recommend a flogging, sir. This is a very troublesome affair for me, Mr. Bunter. No doubt, said Mr. Bunter gruffly. I rely upon you, of course, to see that my son comes to no harm. Really, sir, as he has deliberately absented himself, the responsibility is yours, sir, said Mr. Bunter tartly. Apparently Mr. Bunter's temper was none too amiable that day. Perhaps he had had his own little troubles in the stock markets. Really, Mr. Bunter, snapped the head. Really, Dr. Locke, snapped Mr. Bunter. I left my son in your charge. He is still in your charge. The responsibility is yours. Good evening, sir. Mr. Bunter rang off. Dr. Locke put up the receiver and sat down, with a crimson spot burning in either cheek. Had Billy Bunter been present, it is probable that the head would have expelled him on the spot. But he could not expel a fellow who was not there to be expelled. He could only fume. There was only one relief for the head, the ancient system of passing it on. He rang for Trotter, and sent him to request Mr. Quelch to come to the study. Mr. Quelch came. Generally, the two gentlemen were on their best of terms. They had many things in common. Greyfriars was the beginning and the end to all things for both of them. Often the head addressed the remove master as, "My dear Quelch." Now all was changed. The head frowned, and Mr. Quelch looked steely. "Mr. Quelch, sir, I have received a telephonic communication from Bunter's father." "Well, sir?" "Bunter, it appears, has not gone home." "Quite so." "Mr. Bunter states that he considers the responsibility to be wholly mine." "No doubt, sir," said Mr. Quelch. The head breathed hard. "I do not agree with Mr. Bunter's view," he said. "No, sir," said Mr. Quelch with an air of polite interest. "The responsibility, in my opinion, falls upon the boy's form-master," said the head sternly. "Indeed, sir." "Yes, indeed, Mr. Quelch." There was a short silence. "The boy must be found, Mr. Quelch. He may come to some harm wandering about the country." "It is probable." "I have taken all possible steps," said the remove master. The headmaster raised his hand. "I leave it to you, Mr. Quelch. I expect the boy to be found." "Sir!" The door closed on Mr. Quelch. Mr. Quelch left the study with a set brow, his lips tightly compressed. Coker the Fifth in the corridor saw him coming, and grinned. Actually grinned. Mr. Quelch stopped. "Coker," rumbled Mr. Quelch. "Yes, sir." "You are aware, Coker, that the Fifth is a senior form?" "Certainly, sir." "Do you think it consistent with the dignity of a senior form, Coker, to grin and chuckle in a master's face like an impertinent little boy in the second form, indeed like an uneducated street Arab?" Coker started. He wished just then he hadn't grinned. He stammered, "You are impertinent, Coker. You are insolent and ill-mannered. You are a disgrace to your form, Coker." "Oh," gasped Coker. Several fellows stopped to look on. Coker's face grew very red. He wished still more fervently that he hadn't grinned. "I should complain to your form master, Coker, if I were not aware that you are the stupidest as well as the most ill-mannered boy in the fifth form," said Mr. Quelch. "I warn you to take care, sir." Mr. Quelch swept on, leaving Coker no longer grinning. "Dressed you down nicely, old bean," remarked Walker of the Six. Temple of the Fourth chuckled. Coker paid no heed to Walker of the Six. He concentrated his attention upon Temple of the Fourth, who was only a junior and who had chuckled. "Funny, what?" said Coker. "I'll give you something to cackle on, you cheeky fag. Look here. Oh, gad! Oh, my hat! Yah! Oh, raw Temple as the incensed fifth former smoked." Reprisals on Coker were out of the question of the Temple, but his luck was in. Sammy Bunter of the second fourth came rolling along. Bunter minor being very much like his brother Billy, it was probable that he was going to and fro like a lion seeking what he might devour. "You fat worm, what are you doing here?" demanded Temple. "Nothing," said Sammy. "Then go and do it somewhere else," said Temple, "and that will help you to start." "Whoop!" roared Sammy. Temple's boot helped him, and he started. Harry Wharton Co. did not look merry and bright the following morning. There was no news of Bunter. Mr. Quelch was in his tantrums. He was deeply disturbed and irritated by Bunter's escapade. His anxiety, lest the truant junior should come to some harm, added to his deep annoyance. The harvest of lines and raps and canings wreaked in the form room that morning were extraordinary. Every fellow in the remove went through it more or less. Some of the remove were perspiring when they came out of the form room. They longed for news of Bunter, but there was no news. Bunter had not taken a ticket at the railway station, or any other railway station within a wide radius of Greyfriars. No one had seen him on the roads or paths, so far as could be ascertained by inquiry. He had not gone home. What had become of him was a mystery. It began to be supposed that something must have happened to him. If he had gone by the cliff path in the dark, no doubt he had tumbled over. Bunter could have vanished, and the more utterly the better, without anybody worrying very much, but for the consequences it entailed on his form fellows. It was known that Mr. Bunter had telephoned again to the head, demanding news of his son. It was reported that Mr. Quelch had been on the carpet again. Skinner declared that he had seen Mr. Quelch leaving the head's study afterwards, looking more fierce than ever. Mr. Bunter blamed the head. The head blamed Mr. Quelch. Mr. Quelch could not possibly have blamed his form, but he certainly acted just as if he did. The owl of the remove had now been missing for 2 whole days, and all Greyfriars felt that the matter was getting serious. Herbert Vernon Smith looked into study number 1, where Harry Wharton & Co. had gathered for tea. There was a frown on the bounder's face. "You fellows been larking in my study?" he asked. "No, ass," said Harry. "Well, my cupboard's been raided," growled the bounder. "Well, you silly ass, do you think you'll find grub raiders in this study?" exclaimed Nugent. "I'm asking all the remove. I'm going to know what's become of that cake," said Vernon Smith. "I gave Mrs. Mimble £2 for it. It was a whacker. It's gone." "Bunter's ghost, perhaps?" grinned Bob Cherry. "He's haunting the remove passage." The bounder walked away, evidently very much annoyed. The famous five finished their tea, and were about to go down to the rag, when Russell of the remove looked in. "Finished with my holiday annual, Nugent?" he asked. "Yes, I put it back in your study," answered Frank. "Huh? It's not there." "But it must be there," said Frank. I put it on your table just before class this afternoon." Russell grunted. "Then some other fellow's borrowed it without asking," he grunted. "Might have asked the fellow first." Russell walked away. Harry Wharton & Co. went down to the rag, where there was a discussion on the subject of the missing owl. Vernon Smith and Dick Russell came in presently, both of them looking annoyed. "Hello, hello, hello. Found your cake, Smithy?" called out Bob Cherry. "No," snapped the bouncer. "Look here, Nugent, I haven't found my holiday annual," said Russell crossly. "I've asked every chap in the remove, and nobody took it from my study. So you see, you couldn't have put it back." "I did, old chap," answered Frank. "Just before class, I ran into your study especially to put it there." "Oh, you dreamed it," said Russell. "You see, you couldn't have, because I went to my study immediately after class, and it wasn't there then. Nobody could have taken it while we were at class." "I don't see how anybody could," agreed Nugent. "But I put it there right enough." Smithy's cake and Russell's holiday annual. "It's just as if Bunter were back again," said Peter Todd. Prep was still going on in study number 1, when there was a tap on the door, and Temple of the Fourth came in. Cecil Reginald Temple was not looking amiable. "I want to speak to you, Wharton, as your head of the remove," he said sharply. "Go ahead." "Some dashed fag has been rooting about in my study," said Temple. "Oh, my hat, what's happened now?" "I've missed some things from my study. Ham, and a cold fowl, and a lot of tuck. It's not good enough, I can tell you." "You cheeky ass," exclaimed Nugent indignantly. "It was some fellow in your own form, of course." "It wasn't. I've asked up and down the Fourth, and besides, it's you remove fags who raid tuck like this," said Cecil Reginald Temple loftily. "We are not grub raiders in the Fourth." Wharton and Nugent rose to their feet. "That's enough. Travel. You want help, right?" And Harry Wharton and Frank Nugent proceeded to help Temple of the Fourth to travel. Wednesday morning was, as Lord Malvera pathetically remarked, simply horrid in the remove room. The removed fellows felt that they never would get to the end of Wednesday morning, and their only consolation was the fact that Wednesday afternoon was a half-holiday. Matters in the remove were growing intolerable. "It's all Bunter's fault," Harry Wharton remarked in the quad after dinner. "The fat ass is causing all the trouble. Look here, he's got to be found." Vernon Smith came along and joined the famous five. They were discussing the matter. There was a thoughtful frown on the bounder's face, and a rather curious expression in his eyes. "Somebody's been in my study this morning," he said. "That grub raider from the Fourth again?" asked Harry Wharton. "Looks like it. Someone scoffed my things while we were at class this morning." "But the Fourth were in class too," said Harry. "What's missing, Smithy?" "Well, some stuff I got in a parcel from home, chocolates and grapes and things," said Vernon Smith. "It's getting too thick," growled Johnny Bull. "It's as bad as having Bunter back again. Let's go and rag the Fourth this afternoon." "Good egg," said Bob Cherry heartily. "Oh, let the Fourth rest a bit," said Vernon Smith. "What we want is to find that villain Bunter." "We do," said Harry. "Quelch is really getting near the limit." "The esteemed lifelessness is not worth the liveliness in the present execrable circumstances," remarked Hurray Jamison Ram Singh, with a shake of his dusky head. The bounder's eyes glimmered. "I've been thinking," he said. "I think I've got an idea. Bunter may not be so jolly far off as you think." "He's disappeared," said Nugent. "I know, but doesn't it strike you as jolly odd that not a single soul seems to have set eyes on him since he left Greyfriars?" "It's odd enough," said Wharton. "We know he had no money. What's he living on all the time?" said the bounder quietly. "I don't suppose he had enough to take a railway ticket. Well, a chap can't travel far or fast without money, especially a fat slacker like Bunter." "That's so. It makes it all the more surprising that he vanished like that as soon as he got outside Greyfriars." "It would make it jolly surprising if he got outside Greyfriars," assented the bounder. "If," repeated Wharton. "Yes. They've been searching for him everywhere outside the school and haven't found a trace of him. But there's one place where nobody's thought of looking." "Where?" "Inside Greyfriars," said the bounder. Harry Wharton and Co. stared at the bounder. His words took them utterly by surprise. "Inside Greyfriars," repeated Bob Cherry. "My only hat, Smithy!" "Well, that's my idea," said the bounder coolly. "I don't say I should have thought of it, only this grub raiding has set me thinking. Lots of places where he could hide." "Great Scott! I suppose it's possible," said Harry Wharton, after a long and thoughtful silence. "It's awfully thick if Smithy's right," said Nugent, "giving us all this trouble and alarming his own people because—" "Oh, Bunter wouldn't think about that," said the bounder with a laugh. "I'm going to look for him. You fellows can join up if you like. I'm fed up with Quelch's tantrums." "Same here." Harry Wharton nodded. "Let's look for the fat bounder. But where?" "In the house," said the bounder. "He's somewhere where he can sneak out while we're in class and raid our studies. Somewhere in touch of the remove and Fourth studies." "That's so. We'll begin in the box room," said Vernon Smith. "If he's there at all, he must be hiding in the disused attics. Let's draw the attics and see." "Right-ho!" The famous five went to the house after the bounder and Peter Todd. They proceeded up the staircase to the remove box room. Farther up the narrow stair, where there were several attics belonging to the ancient buildings and never used. But the empty, dusky rooms were searched in vain. There was no sign of an occupant. The searchers returned to the removed box room rather discouraged. Vernon Smith, however, did not seem discouraged. In the box room he pointed to a square wooden trap in the ceiling. That trap gave access to the space between the ceiling rafters and the slanting roof of red tiles. The juniors looked up. "Up there!" ejaculated Bob. "That's about the safest place for him," said the bounder. "And I noticed that 2 boxes had been dragged under the trap. Look. Somebody's stacked one on another, and I fancy it was Bunter getting onto the roof." "Looks like it," agreed Wharton. "I say, are we going crawling over the giddy rafters looking for the fat bounder up there?" asked Nugent doubtfully. "No need," said the bounder coolly. "If Bunter's there, we'll make him come out. "He jolly well won't answer, if you yell," said Peter Todd. "Leave it to me," said the bounder. Vernon Smith opened one of the boxes and took out an armful of straw packing. He stacked it in the box-room grate, closed down the damper, and lighted it. There was a howl of protest from the juniors as the room began filling with thick and acrid smoke. "What the thump! Smith, you silly ass!" There was a rush out on the landing. The smoke eddied and thickened in the room. Unheeding it, Vernon Smith stepped on the stacked boxes under the trap of the ceiling and pushed up the trap. A thick volume of smoke rushed up into the space above, spreading under the sloping tiles of the roof. "Fire!" shouted the bounder. He jumped down from the boxes and joined the juniors on the landing, outside the open door of the box-room. "Oh, my hat! What a wheeze!" chuckled Bob Cherry. "You're a giddy genius, Smithy." The box-room was thick with smoke now, eddying up into the roof through the open trap. Harry Wharton and co. waited breathlessly. They had not long to wait. Beyond the smoke there came a sudden yelp of terror, and then the sound of a crash. Something heavy, very heavy, dropped from the trap-door in the ceiling above the boxes below. "Yaroo!" It was the familiar voice of the Owl of the Remove. "Smoked out!" yelled Peter Todd. "Hoo-hoo-hoo! Bunter! Ow! Fire! Help! Rescue! Yow!" came in a terrified howl, and a fat figure bolted out of the smoky box-room and cut across the landing to the stairs, where half a dozen pairs of hands closed on him. The vanished ventriloquist was captured at last. "Oh, let go!" howled Bunter. "Fire! Run for it! Run for your lives! Fire! Help! Let go!" But he was dragged back into the box-room, yelling and wriggling. Vernon Smith pushed up the damper, and the smoke was directed up the chimney. Nugent opened the window wide. The smoke cleared off from the box-room. Billy Bunter's struggling ceased. It dawned upon his fat brain that there was no fire after all. You beasts! Oh, there wasn't a fire!" gasped Bunter. "Only a little straw in the grate," grinned the bounder. "You knew I was there," howled Bunter. "Smithy suspected," chuckled Peter Todd. "So that's where you've been all the time, Bunter, while the head thinks you've run away from school." Bunter grinned. "Rather neat, wasn't it?" he asked. "Neat?" ejaculated Wharton. Billy Bunter closed the box-room door. "Keep this dark, of course, you fellows," he said. "Keep it dark," repeated Wharton. "Yes, you're not going to give me away, of course." The juniors stared at Bunter. "You've got to show up," said the bounder gruffly. "No jolly fear. Do you think you can stay here and come down raiding our studies when you want grub?" demanded Johnny Bull. "Well, a fellow must eat," said Bunter. "I brought a good bit of stuff with me, you know." "From my study," growled Vernon Smith. "I shall settle for it, of course," said Bunter, with dignity. "I'm expecting a post order shortly from one of my titled relations." Oh, my hat! "The grub gave out, and a fellow had to do something," said Bunter. "I can tell you all, it was jolly lucky Smithy had that cake in his study, and lucky that Temple had laid in the stuff for a supper yesterday. And your hamper today came in very handy, Smithy. Did Russell miss the holiday annual?" "The holiday annual!" exclaimed Nugent. "Yes, I bagged it from his study." "So it was you," gasped Nugent. "The fact is, it was a bit of a bore hiding in the roof all on my own," said Bunter. "I couldn't really have stood it, only I refused to be flogged. The head is bound to relent in time. Don't you fellows think so? Even Quelchy will get a bit tender-hearted." The juniors stared blankly at Bunter. Apparently the Owl imagined that his absence would have a softening effect on the head and his form-master, on the principle that absence makes the heart grow fonder. You think Quelchy is getting tender-hearted?" roared Johnny Bull. "Why, he's been like a wild beast. When he sees you again, he will scalp you." "Oh, really, Bull, and the head's in a royal wax," said Wharton. "You fellows have found me," said the fat junior calmly. "Well, that's all right. I can trust you. You're not going to sneak." Harry Wharton and co. looked at him. Vernon Smith knitted his brows. As Bunter said, they could not sneak, and to report the discovery to the masters was not in the game. "It's all right," went on Bunter. "The fact is, I'm glad you found me, as I can trust you. You fellows can come up here for a chat sometimes when it's safe, and bring up grub, too. Oh, my hat. Somebody's coming, exclaimed Bob Cherry, as the box-room stairs creaked under a heavy tread. Bunter jumped. I say, you fellows, that's Quelch's hoof. He gasped. Not a word. Don't say a word. Oh, dear. Quelchy? It was Mr. Quelch's well-known tread, and it was already on the landing outside the box-room door. The fat junior dodged behind the 2 stacked boxes in the middle of the room and crouched there, shaking with apprehension. He was barely in cover when the box-room door opened and Mr. Quelch, with a frowning brow, strode in. "What has been going on here, Wharton?" demanded the remove master sternly. "My attention was drawn to smoke pouring from the window," said Mr. Quelch grimly. "Oh, have you been playing dangerous tricks with fire here?" exclaimed Mr. Quelch. No, sir. Then what has happened?" Mr. Quelch looked at the grate. "You have been burning straw." Yes, sir. Quite safe. In the grate, sir." Behind the boxes, Bunter crouched and quivered. Mr. Quelch pointed to the open trap in the ceiling. "What does that mean? Who opened the trap?" "I did, sir," said the bounder. "And why?" No answer. "I intend to inquire very thoroughly into this," said Mr. Quelch grimly. The remove master had a cane under his arm. The juniors stood nonplussed. From where they stood, they could see Bunter crouching behind the boxes and blinking at them with beseeching blinks. There was a pause, and the pause was broken in a sudden and startling manner. A last eddy of the clearing smoke caught Billy Bunter, and he sneezed. He felt the sneeze coming on and struggled against it. Then it came, emphatically. Achoo! Mr. Quelch jumped. What? What? Achoo! Mr. Quelch strode forward and looked behind the boxes. Then he very nearly fell down in his astonishment. Bunter! Achoo! Bunter! roared Mr. Quelch. Oh, 'tisn't me, sir. Bunter? Oh, dear, gasped Bunter. Mr. Quelch's iron grasp on the fat junior's shoulder jerked him to his feet. Bunter stood quivering in that iron grasp like a very fat jelly. For an awful moment there was a silence. Mr. Quelch looked at the open trap and then at Harry Wharton and Co., and he understood. Bunter, you have been hiding here. No, sir, gasped Bunter. What? I mean, yes, sir. You boys found him here, I presume? Asked Mr. Quelch. Yes, sir, said Harry. Very good. Bunter, you have lain in concealment here, causing anxiety to your friends and relatives, to your headmaster and to me. I, stuttered Bunter. You deliberately gave the impression that you had run away from school, Bunter, careless of the trouble you gave. You see, sir, this is unspeakable, said Mr. Quelch. You have thrown the whole school into a state of disturbance, Bunter, in order to evade a deserved punishment for a time. I don't want to be flogged, gasped Bunter. You young rascal, come with me. With the iron grasp on his shoulder, Billy Bunter was marched out of the box-room. The hapless owl of the remove was marched down the stairs. Mr. Quelch was taking him to the head to answer for his many sins. In 10 minutes or less, all Greyfriars knew that Billy Bunter was back, that he had been found hiding in the house, and he had never been outside Greyfriars at all. It was an amazing discovery, and it was all discussed up and down Greyfriars with great excitement. A crowd of fellows gathered at the end of the head's corridor to wait for Bunter to appear from the study. The head's door opened at last. Billy Bunter came out. He walked down the corridor quite jauntily. A crowd of fellows surrounded him at once. Curiosity was at burning point now. Bunter? Bunter smiled. I'm let off the flogging because Because what? Because I'm sacked. Sacked, yelled the Removites. Bunter nodded calmly. Sacked, said the bounder, and you don't mind? No jolly fear, said Bunter. I'm fed up with Greyfriars. I shall get my pater to send me to a better school than this. What? I'm going home tomorrow morning, chuckled Bunter. And the owl of the remove rolled on, leaving the juniors almost speechless. Dr. Locke wore a worried frown. It was a nasty, weepy winter morning. That morning the sentence of expulsion was to take effect, and Bunter of the remove was to go. Bunter deserved he had fairly asked for the sacking, but the head was worried. Having had a night to think about it, he was in a more merciful mood in the morning, and he wondered whether he could not, after all, let Bunter off that final drastic sentence and allow him to escape with a flogging. The head touched his bell at last, and sent Trotter for Mr. Quelch. You wish to see me, sir, said the remove master formally. Yes, Mr. Quelch. I have been considering the case of Bunter, said the head, taking no note of Mr. Quelch's icy manner. He leaves this morning, I understand, said Mr. Quelch. Quite so. I have been wondering whether Bunter could be dealt with a little more leniently, Mr. Quelch. Indeed, sir. The head coughed. It appears to me, Mr. Quelch, that Bunter's conduct was dictated more by stupidity than by any deliberate intention to flout authority. Very probably, sir. If you, as his form master, take the same view, I think that perhaps Bunter might be given another chance and allowed to remain at Greyfriars. Mr. Quelch nodded. I think you are right, sir. Bunter is a very trying pupil, but I should be sorry to see him expelled from the school. Very good, said the head. Then perhaps, Mr. Quelch, you will see Bunter and tell him that, if he will come to me and apologize for his conduct, I will rescind his sentence and a flogging will close the matter. Certainly, sir. Doubtless it will be a great relief to his mind. Mr. Quelch left the headmaster's study. Billy Bunter's box was in the hall, ready to be taken out to the station cab. The cab had been telephoned for. Bunter was sitting on his box now, with a group of removites around him, talking away quite cheerily. Bunter blinked around. He saw Mr. Quelch approaching. But his terror of Mr. Quelch was a thing of the past now. He was leaving Greyfriars. He was prepared to be very free and easy with Mr. Quelch. Bunter? Hello. What? Ejaculated Mr. Quelch. Hello, repeated Bunter familiarly. The removed fellows looked on in silence. Mr. Quelch's face was a study for some moments. Bunter, is that the way to address your form master? You're not my form master. What? I'm Bunk, sir, said Bunter cheerfully, and I'm jolly glad of it. I'm fed up with it, I can tell you. Mr. Quelch breathed hard and deep. Bunter, I have just seen the head concerning you. Dr. Locke is prepared to rescind your sentence. Oh, my hat! Go to the head, Bunter, and offer him an apology for your mutinous conduct, and Dr. Locke will administer a flogging, and you will be allowed to remain at Greyfriars. No jolly fear, said Bunter promptly. What? Exclaimed Mr. Quelch. Allowed to stay at Greyfriars, said Bunter contemptuously. I jolly well won't want to stay. Bunter, for your own sake I advise you, keep your advice, sir, till I ask for it. What? What? Bunter, you crass ass, breathed Harry Wharton. Shut up, Wharton. Billy Bunter fixed his big spectacles on the remove master and grinned. He was feeling quite secure in cheeking Mr. Quelch. I've never been treated decently here, said Bunter. The fellows are a very scratch lot, and, if you don't mind me speaking plainly, sir, so are the masters. Bunter, gasped Mr. Quelch. So, you can put that in your pipe and smoke it, sir. You can tell old Lockie to do the same, said Bunter victoriously. Who? What? Old Lockie, said Bunter coolly. Are you alluding to Dr. Locke? Stuttered Mr. Quelch. Yes, sir. I mean, yes, Quelch, said Bunter. Boy, keep your wool on, said Bunter. Keep my wool on, repeated the remove master dazedly. Yes, I'm not a Greyfriars chap now. I don't want any cheek from you or the head. The boy is mad, murmured Mr. Quelch. Bunter, murmured Bob Cherry. Shut up, Cherry. I've done with Greyfriars, Quelchy. You certainly have done with Greyfriars, you impertinent young rascal, thundered the remove master. I have a good mind to administer a severe caning before you go. Here comes the cab, sir, called out Vernon Smith. Bunter, go at once. The owl of the remove blinked round at him. "What's that?" he asked coolly. "Take your cab at once, Bunter." "That's all right, Quelchy," said Bunter cheerily. "Don't you butt in, you know." "Bunter," gasped the remove master. Billy Bunter stepped into the cab at last. He sat down and grinned. Evidently Bunter regarded his departure as something of the nature of a triumph. "Well, goodbye, you bounders," he called out. "Pretty rotten for you to be hanging on here, isn't it? Still, serves you right." "Goodbye, Fatty." "And jolly good riddance," growled Peter Todd. "Yah!" That was Bunter's final farewell. Nearly a week had elapsed since the departure of William George Bunter from the classic shades of Greyfriars. Already Billy Bunter was only a memory in the remove. And now, here he was. Not a memory, but in the flesh. Here was William George Bunter rolling up the path in the quadrangle. Just the same Bunter as of old. Bunter! What? "I say, you fellows! What on earth are you doing here?" exclaimed Harry Wharton in amazement. "I've come back." "Come back," repeated the famous five, almost dazedly. Bunter nodded. "Yes, I'm fed up with home." "Oh, my hat! I've had a rotten time," said Bunter lugubriously. "The pater was a regular tartar. He said I disgraced the family getting sacked from the school." "He didn't rejoice to see you?" chuckled Bob Cherry. "No, he seemed simply wild and waxy," said Bunter. "He refused to send me to Eton or Harrow. He jawed me no end for wasting the fees, and he said that he wouldn't have me at home for twice the money. Ah, blessed if I can see anything to cackle at. I call it unfeeling," said Bunter. "What do you think? He says that he isn't going to send me to school any more." "Well, that's what you want, isn't it? No more lessons?" "Yes, but he says I shall have to work." "Work? You?" "Yes," groaned Bunter. "Me! Awful, isn't it?" The famous five chuckled. "It's not a laughing matter for me," said Bunter. "I've been stony all the time. I haven't even had enough to eat. I say, do you think the head will say anything?" "Oh, crumbs, I fancy so. Does your father know you've come back here, Bunter?" asked Bob. No, I told him I was going away for a time, and he said I could go as soon as I liked," mumbled Bunter. "Of course, he'll be jolly glad to hear that it's all right here." "But it isn't all right, old bean," exclaimed Johnny Bull. "I'm going into form with you fellows this afternoon." "Phew, I'm chancing it," said Bunter. "If Quelchy finds me in my place as usual, he mayn't say anything." "Well, there's the jolly old bell," exclaimed Bob Cherry. "Bunter, old man, that's the way to the gates." "Oh, really, Cherry, I'm coming into class." Harry Wharton and Co. walked away towards the schoolhouse, and the owl of the remove rolling along with them. There was a howl from the remove fellows there at the sight of Billy Bunter. "Bunter! What the thump? I've come back," said Bunter. "Come back, yelled Skiller. "Here comes Quelchy," murmured Redwing. The removites scudded into their form room and took their places. With them went Billy Bunter. There was a silence as the remove master entered. What would he say and do when he found Billy Bunter in his form? Once more, there was a keenly interesting problem to the removites. Mr. Quelch raised his eyebrows in astonishment. He raised them so much that for a moment they really seemed in danger of disappearing over the top of his head. "Bunter?" articulated Mr. Quelch at last. Is that actually Bunter?" "Yes, sir." "Bunter? Bless my soul! Good afternoon, sir," ventured the owl of the remove. "What?" "I hope I see you well, sir," said Bunter. "I hope you haven't had much rheumatism, sir, in this beastly rainy weather." "Bunter, what are you doing here?" I've come back, sir." "You've come back to Greyfriars?" said Mr. Quelch. "Yes, sir," said Bunter brightly. "I'm willing to apologise to the head, sir, and to you, and to anybody you like, sir. I don't mind a bit." "You have returned to this school, Bunter, after being expelled?" exclaimed Mr. Quelch blankly. "Yes, sir. I missed you very much, sir." "Eh? I haven't got my book, sir. I suppose I can borrow some of Toddy's." "You will not need any books here, Bunter. If you really fancy that you will be allowed to return to Greyfriars as if nothing had happened, then you are deceiving yourself. Go." "Go where, sir? To my study?" asked Bunter. You have no study here, Bunter, as you know very well. Leave this room, this house, these premises altogether. But I've come back to stay, sir. Wharton? Yes, sir, said Harry. Kindly take Bunter to the gates and see him off the school premises. Tell Gosling that he is not to be admitted under any circumstances whatever. Wharton tapped Bunter on the arm. Come on, Bunter, old chap, he said gently. Bunter blinked at him and did not move. Go! Thundered Mr. Quelch. Bunter quaked, but he sat tight. The remove room at Greyfriars was his haven of refuge. The alternative was home, and that seemed a terrible alternative to the owl of the remove. Considering Bunter's magnificent description of Bunter Court, it was surprising that he did not want to stay at that imposing residence. But he didn't. It was quite plain that he didn't. Are you going? You see, sir, enough! Mr. Quelch strode across to Bunter. He grasped him by the collar and hooked him out of class. Bunter spluttered, "No, I say, my hat!" "Come," said Mr. Quelch in a grinding voice. With an iron grasp on his fat shoulder, Billy Bunter was marched out of the form. There was a rush of the removed fellows to the windows. Right down to the gates they watched Mr. Quelch march the hapless owl of the remove. "Gosling!" The porter came out of his lodge. He stared at Bunter. "Gosling, This boy has returned to the school unpermitted. You should not have allowed him to enter, Gosling." "I never seed him do it of, sir," said Gosling. Kindly see that he does not enter again, Gosling. Very, very good, sir. Open the gate, Gosling." "Yes, sir." The gate swung open. Mr. Quelch marched Bunter out, and then at last the vice unclosed from the owl's fat shoulder. "Bunter, you had better go home at once," said Mr. Quelch severely. "If you are found within the precincts of Greyfriars again, you will be dealt with severely." Mr. Quelch walked out, and the gate closed after him. Gosling grinned sourly through the bars of the gate at Bunter. "Pretty goings-on, I don't think, young Bunter," said Gosling. I say, Gosling, old man, what I says is this here, young Bunter. You clear off." "Let me in, Gosling," urged Bunter. "Let me in, there's a good chap." "I don't think," said Gosling derisively. "What I advise you to do is this here. You go home." "Gosling, old chap." "Huh!" Gosling grunted and walked back to his lodge. "Gosling, you cheeky cad," howled Bunter. "Do you hear me, you cheeky old donkey?" No answer came from Gosling's lodge. Billy Bunter blinked up and down the road dismally. When Gosling looked out of his lodge half an hour later, a fat figure was still lingering at the gates. Billy Bunter had not gone. There he was, haunting the gates of Greyfriars like a podgy Peri at the gate of paradise. When classes ended that day, Mr. Quelch proceeded to the head study to acquaint Dr. Locke with the singular occurrence of the afternoon. He found the head in a good humour. The head had been doing Greek with the Sixth, digging deep into the mysteries of Sophocles. "A most extraordinary occurrence, sir," said Mr. Quelch. "Indeed, Mr. Quelch." "Bunter, sir." "Bunter?" repeated the head absently. He was still thinking of Sophocles, and his mind was 3,000 years away. "Bunter of the remove, sir." "Oh, Bunter," said the head. "What is it, Mr. Quelch?" "He had the unparalleled impudence, sir, to present himself in the form-room today." "What?" The head totally forgot even Sophocles. "Bunter? Here?" "It is amazing, sir, that the boy should act in so an unprecedented manner, and that his father should allow him to do so." "He's gone, I presume?" exclaimed the head. "I turned him out at once, sir. Probably he will not venture to repeat such an act of insolence, sir, but no doubt you will agree that his father should be communicated with." "Certainly, Mr. Quelch. His father is very seriously to blame." "Then I will telephone, sir." "Very good." Mr. Quelch returned to his own study and proceeded to ring up Mr. William Samuel Bunter at once. He compressed his lips when the reply came through from his trunk call. The reply was that Mr. Bunter was not yet home from the city. But Mr. Quelch was not disposed to wait. He proceeded to ask for another trunk call, this time to Mr. Bunter's number in the city. From a caretaker, Mr. Quelch learned that Mr. Bunter had left for home. The remove master murmured something under his breath. 2 trunk calls to go down for nothing. It really was very trying to the temper. Mr. Quelch was fairly on the warpath now. Once more he rang Mr. Bunter at home. This time, fortunately, he found the gentleman had come in. Mr. Bunter speaking, what is it? Mr. Quelch speaking from Greyfriars. Mr. Squelch? Quelch. Did you say squelch? I did not say squelch, hooted the remove master. I said Quelch. I am your son's former form master at Greyfriars. Oh, very good. Now, what is it, Mr. Squelch? I mean Quelch. Your son was here this afternoon, and... Your son? Naturally. I suppose nothing has occurred to cause the head to send my second son away from Greyfriars. There was an inflection of sarcasm in Mr. Bunter's voice. I am not alluding to Samuel Bunter of the second form, sir. Your son, William, who was expelled from the school, has had the audacity to return here, hooted Mr. Quelch. Indeed. Yes, indeed, sir. I understood that he was going to visit friends, said Mr. Bunter. No doubt he was referring to friends at Greyfriars. Really, Mr. Quelch, this is disagreeable to me. A visit like this should not have been arranged in the circumstances. Surely you see this? Mr. Quelch breathed hard. Your son came here uninvited, sir, he gasped. I have rung you up, sir, to point out to you that it must not occur again. It is for you to see that it does not occur again, sir, snapped Mr. Bunter. My son was dismissed from Greyfriars for reasons that appear to me totally inadequate. I have been put to great inconvenience, and now, after handing my son over to me suddenly, almost without warning, you encourage him to visit the school. Encourage him? Gasped Mr. Welch. If it is your wish that he should return to Greyfriars as a pupil, I will consider the matter, said Mr. Bunter. Bless my soul, I am, I think, prepared to consent to this. At all events, I will consider the matter and give you a favourable answer if possible. Mr. Quelch almost dropped the receiver. Sir, Mr. Bunter, listen to me. Only a buzz on the wires answered Mr. Quelch. William Samuel Bunter had rung off. Mr. Quelch put up the receiver with feelings almost too deep for words. Harry Wharton & Co. came up to the removed passage to tea, after punting a footer about till dusk. The famous five were teaing together in study number 1. They tramped cheerily into the study. There was a shout from 5 voices at once as the light came on. Bunter! I say, you fellows! Bunter, my hat! There he was. The owl of the remove was seated in the study armchair. What the thump are you doing here, Bunter? Exclaimed Wharton. I'm hungry. Hey, I suppose you fellows are going to stand me some tea, but you can't stay here, you ass. Oh, really, Wharton? How on earth did you get here? Mr. Quelch thinks you've gone. Bunter grinned. Of course I wasn't going, he said. My people are not expecting me home. I've come back, you know. You awful ass. Well, I got in through the cloisters. I knew you'd be glad to see me. Bunter, old man, you really better go, said Harry Wharton. I'm sorry, old chap, but you really asked to be bunked anyhow. Quelch would be fearfully wild if he found you here again. Yes, cut, old man, said Bob. How can I cut when I'm hungry? Bunter, frightfully hungry, said the owl of the remove impressively. I had lunch at a railway station, and I've had nothing since. I suppose you fellows don't want to see me expire before your eyes. The famous 5 exchanged glances. Billy Bunter was up against it. There was no doubt about that. They felt a natural inclination to help a fellow who was down in his luck. Well, said Harry Wharton at last, we shall get into a thumping row if Quelchy finds Bunter here, but... Oh, feed him, grunted Johnny Bull. The feedfulness is the proper caper in the esteemed circumstances, remarked Harry Singe. Harry Wharton & Co. spread the table for tea. Billy Bunter was soon going strong. Supplies for a tea for 5 had been brought to the study. Frank Newton hurried back to the school shop. Supplies for 10, at least, were required, if Bunter was to have tea with the famous 5. Bunter's fat face beamed over the festive board. I say, you fellows, this is really good, said Bunter, when he had disposed of enough for 4. I'll have some more of that ham and a few more eggs. Won't you try the cake, Bunter? I'm coming to that! He finished tea at last, and then the famous 5 considered that it was time for Bunter to go. But Bunter had no idea of going. He leaned back luxuriously in the armchair, unfastening the lowest button of his waistcoat. The chums of the Remove looked at him. "Well, Bunter," said Wharton. "Jolly good feed," said Bunter. "If you fellows don't mind, I'll take a little nap. But—" He closed his eyes comfortably. Skinner grinned into the study. "You fellows want to see Quelch?" he asked. "Good Lord, no," ejaculated Wharton. "Well, he's coming anyhow." "Oh, crumbs." Skinner walked off, chuckling. The famous five stood in dismay. Billy Bunter's eyes reopened behind his glasses. "Oh, my hat!" Mr. Quelch stood in the doorway of the study. "What? Bless my soul, Bunter!" The foremaster gazed spellbound at the owl of the Remove. "What are you doing here, Bunter?" "Well, I've been having tea, sir," gasped Bunter. "Upon my word, this passes all patience," exclaimed the Remove master. "Wharton, you have admitted Bunter to the house, knowing that he is expelled." "We found him here, sir," gasped Wharton. "Then you should have informed me immediately of his presence. Each of you will take 500 lines," hooted Mr. Quelch. "Oh, dear. Bunter, follow me at once." I say, sir, I'd much rather stop here." "You will go home at once, Bunter." "But I don't want to go home, sir." "This is quite beside the point, Bunter." I'd prefer to let bygones be bygones, please, sir," said Bunter. "I'm willing to overlook the whole thing, sir." "I shall not waste further words on you, Bunter. Although you are no longer a Greyfriars boy, I shall cane you if I find you within the precincts of the school again." "Oh, law!" "Follow me!" thundered the Remove master. Billy Bunter quaked and followed the Remove master from the study out into the dusky quadrangle. Mr. Quelch led Bunter to the master's private gate, which he opened with his own key. Billy Bunter blinked dismally into the shadowy road outside. "Now go, Bunter." I say, sir," stammered Bunter. "Go." "I can't stay out all night, sir. I haven't got my railway fare home." Mr. Quelch breathed hard. "What is the amount of your railway fare home, Bunter?" £3, sir." "I will give you the £3, Bunter, but take warning, Bunter. And do not come anywhere near Greyfriars again." I want to come back, sir." "Nonsense. Take this money and go." Slam! The gate closed, and Mr. Quelch turned the key in the lock. In the road, Billy Bunter stood for some minutes with the money in his fat hand. He rolled away, at last, towards Fairdale. Mr. Quelch glanced from the big doorway of the house and frowned. It was the day following the departure of Bunter, and something was going on. It seemed that nearly all Greyfriars had gathered, or was gathering at the school gates, where they looked out on the public road. Something of an exciting nature was going on, and Mr. Quelch disliked such things. Even from the distance he could hear the murmur of voices and the echo of laughter. Such a demonstration was not in keeping with the orderly scholastic traditions of Greyfriars. It was really scandalous, too, to see several sixth-form prefects making no effort whatever to disperse the crowd. For which reason Mr. Quelch stepped out of the house and advanced upon the mob himself with a knitted brow. And as he came near the old stone gateway where the gates stood open, he jumped, spotting the cause of the commotion. Billy Bunter was there. He had not come in. He was in the road just outside, the verge of Greyfriars territory. He was seated on a camp stool, and around his neck was a notice written in Bunter's own original style of orthography. "I refuse to be expelled. I want justice." Mr. Quelch shoved a way through the grinning crowd. The fellows made way for him as soon as they saw who it was. They smiled at one another as they noted the thunderclouds in Mr. Quelch's face. They wondered how he would deal with the situation. "Loader," snapped Mr. Quelch, "I am surprised at this. You, a prefect of the Six, allowing this ridiculous scene." Loader flushed. "I don't see what I'm to do, sir." "He's not inside, sir," said Walker. "We've got no authority over a fellow who doesn't belong to the school and is outside the gates." Mr. Quelch bit his lip. Walker's statement was perfectly correct. "Hello," said the owl of the Remove. "Boy, how dare you address me in that manner?" exclaimed Mr. Quelch. How dare you come here? How dare you wear that ridiculous placard? Why shouldn't I? Asked Bunter. You are expelled from the school, Bunter. I know that, answered Bunter coolly. You've told me so a lot of times, Quelchy. You're repeating yourself. What? Put on a new record, suggested Bunter. Mr. Quelch gazed at him, dumbfounded. There was a loud sound of chortling from the Greyfriars crowd. Mr. Quelch glanced around. Silence, he thundered. This is not a laughing matter. Bunter, will you go away at once? No. Wretched boy, wretched man, retorted Bunter independently. Boy, gasped Mr. Welch, go before I forget myself. Rats! Mr. Quelch took a businesslike grip of his cane. Now, Bunter, will you go? Bunter blinked wearily at the cane. No, I won't, he retorted. I want justice. I shall chastise you, Bunter. Go and eat Coke. Thwack! Row! The roar that came from Billy Bunter as the cane whacked across his fat shoulders rang across the quadrangle of Greyfriars. It was a roar that would have done credit to the celebrated bull of Bassan. Thwack! Thwack! Mr. Quelch had intended to administer one sounding thwack as a warning to Bunter, but, finding solace in it, he thwacked and thwacked again. The cane fairly rang across the shoulders of the Owl of the Remove. Thwack! 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 Yaroo! You pull! Crumbs! Oh! Billy Bunter rolled off the camp stool. It collapsed as he rolled, and Bunter sprawled on the earth. The cane came down on him as he sprawled and roared. Thwack! 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 Now will you depart, gasped Mr. Quelch. Oh! Bunter departed. He departed at great speed. If this was justice, he didn't want any more of it. The famous five and Peter Todd came out of the post office at Fairdale. Billy Bunter nodded and grinned to the chums of the Remove. The fat junior was evidently pleased by the meeting. So glad to see you, said Bunter. You see, I'm rather up against it. I'm hard up, he said, blinking pathetically at the Removites. Of course, I know my old school chums will stand by me. You needn't tell me that. I know it. The best thing you can do is go home, said Nugent. Oh, really, Frankie, I'm jolly well not going home. But then, what the thump are you going to do, Bunter? Exclaimed Harry Wharton. I'm coming back, you know, exclaimed Bunter. Ass! Oh, they'll come round sooner or later. You know, if I worry 'em enough, said the Owl of the Remove. Oh, my hat. Is that your game? Exclaimed Bob. That's it, old chap. Anyhow, I'd rather go on like this than be shoved into Pater's office. The fact is, I've got out of the frying pan into the fire, said Bunter dismally. It won't be easy to get back into the frying pan, old fat bean, grinned Bob Cherry. Getting back to Greyfriars is the only way, explained Bunter. Otherwise, I shall have to work. Awful. Yes, isn't it? I'm honourable, you know, said Bunter. I want to pay my way. I can't swindle Uncle Clegg out of his rent. His rent? Well, I've got a room at Uncle Clegg's tuck shop, said Bunter. A chap has to put up somewhere. Furnished room, you know, and grub. Uncle Clegg says I can have anything I like for cash. Bunter grunted. What's the good of that when I haven't got any cash? Now, £5 would see me through for a bit. I'm relying on my old pals. Don't all speak at once. Chums the Removed did not speak at all. Bunter blinked at them. Make it £3 and whack it out among you as you like. You silly owl, said Bob Cherry. Oh, really, Bob? The chums the Removed looked at one another. I suppose Greyfriars doesn't really seem the same place without me, does it? Asked Bunter. No, it's ever so jolly now. Oh, really, Bull? Harry Wharton put his hand into his pocket. The rest of the juniors followed his example. There was a general fumbling for loose cash. The total sum that came to light, after 6 juniors had rummaged through their pockets, was £2. There you are, Bunter. Make the best of it, said Harry. Bunter looked at the collection of coins in his fat palm. What do you call this? He asked. 2 quid. Well, I call this rotten, said Bunter peevishly. But you fellows always were selfish. Goodbye, Bunter, said Bob. Oh, go and eat Coke. Having thus gracefully expressed his thanks, Billy Bunter rolled away. Isn't he nice, said Bob. It wouldn't it be nice to have him back at Greyfriars? I don't think, said Johnny Bull. Mr. Quelch, sir, It was several days later when the head stopped Mr. Quelch on the way to the remove form room with a very serious expression on his face. It was Saturday morning. On this particular occasion, they were destined to wait a few minutes for their usually punctual form master. "I have just walked from Fairdale, Mr. Quelch," said the head. "Indeed, sir. I trust you had a pleasant walk," said the remove master. "A very unpleasant incident occurred, Mr. Quelch." "Indeed, sir." "Bunter." "Bunter," repeated the remove master. "Yes, Bunter. It seems that that wretched boy, Mr. Quelch, has not gone home. He is staying in Fairdale all this time." "I was aware of it, sir," said Mr. Quelch. "Now, Mr. Quelch, the boy cannot be living at Fairdale without money. It is improbable that his father is supporting him. Do you consider it possible that he is obtaining pecuniary aid from his former friends here?" Mr. Quelch stared. "It is quite possible, sir," he exclaimed. "I will inquire into the matter immediately." "Do so, Mr. Quelch," said the head. He passed on, and Mr. Quelch proceeded to his form room with a grim brow. The removites exchanged glances as the form master came in. His look showed that there was trouble in the air. "Boys, it has come to my knowledge that Bunter, who was expelled from the school, is living in Fairdale. You have already been commanded most strictly not to speak to him if you should meet him by chance. I require now to know whether any of you have furnished Bunter with financial assistance." "Oh, gad," murmured Lord Malvera. "Bunter is obviously obtaining money from somewhere," said Mr. Quelch. "Any boy here who has given Bunter money is required to confess at once." "I shall, on this occasion, inflict no punishment," went on the remove master unexpectedly, "but that is on condition that immediate and frank confession is made." "That's a good offer," murmured Bob Cherry. A dozen removites stood up, among them the famous five, Peter Todd, Lord Malvera, and Vernon Smith. Mr. Quelch knitted his brows. "You have disobeyed my orders," he said. Silence. "I shall pass over the matter now, as I have said. Now kindly acquaint me with the amount you have given Bunter," added the remove master sternly. "Quid, sir," said Vernon Smith. "Do you mean £1, Vernon Smith?" "Yes, sir." "You will take 50 lines for using slang, Vernon Smith." "Oh, thank you, sir." Mr. Quelch's gimlet eyes glinted. He turned to Harry Wharton and Co. and Peter Todd, who owned up to £2. "You, Russell?" 6 pence, sir." "You, Ogilvy?" £1, sir." "You, Field?" £1, sir," said Squiff. "And you, Malvera?" "I don't know, sir." "What? You do not know how much money you have given Bunter, Malvera?" exclaimed the form-master. Lord Malvera shook his head. "Have you met him more than once, Malvera?" "Twice, sir." "Did you give him money on each occasion?" Yes, sir," said Lord Malvera thoughtfully. "The first time I gave him some currency notes, sir, I believe 3 or 4. There was a grin among the ranks of the remove. Lord Malvera, the schoolboy millionaire, was the only fellow at Greyfriars in the happy position of being able to hand out currency notes without counting them. "And what did you give him on the second time, Malvera?" "A 5, sir." "Do you mean a £5 note, Malvera?" "Yes, sir." Third lesson proceeded not in a happy atmosphere. Mr. Quelch had ascertained that Billy Bunter had annexed from his former schoolfellows at least £10, and such a sum was enough to last him quite a long time. "Gracious, hello, Caravaneer," said Bob Cherry. "Gypsies," said Nugent. "Cheek, pitching so near the school gates," grunted Johnny Bull. "They jolly well ought to be moved off." It was after dinner that Saturday that the famous five had come down to the gates, intending to walk over to Cliff House. The sight of a gypsy caravan pitched by the roadside arrested their attention. Across the road, opposite the gates of Greyfriars, were the palings of a park. Between the road and the palings was a stretch of grass. On the grass a caravan was halted, a cheap, gaudily painted gypsy caravan of the commonest construction. "The cheekfulness is terrific," remarked Harry Jamset Ram Singh. "The esteemed head will be infuriated." "Waxy, anyhow," grinned Bob Cherry. "Oh, live and let live," said Harry Wharton cheerily. "I dare say they won't do any harm." Coker the Fifth came out of the gates. He stopped and stared at the caravan. "Great Scott!" ejaculated Coker. Maurice Coker seemed scarcely able to believe his eyes. "Nick!" he exclaimed. "Gypsies camped here, just opposite the gates. My only hat! I'll jolly soon shift 'em." Coker strode across to the van and gave a thundering rap on the door, which was shut. Harry Wharton and co. looked in with interest. An encounter between Coker of the Fifth and a hefty gypsy caravaneer was likely, in their opinion, to be entertaining. The caravan door opened. A fat face adorned by a pair of large spectacles blinked out. Coker of the Fifth jumped. "Bunter!" he explained. The fat junior grinned. "I say, you fellows, surprised you, what? How do you do, Coker?" Coker of the Fifth gazed at him open-mouthed. Then he burst into a roar of laughter. "Bunter! Oh, my hat!" And Coker, explosively chuckling, tramped back into the gates of Greyfriars to spread the amazing news. Harry Wharton and co. came across the grass to the steps of the van. "I say, you fellows!" "What are you doing here?" roared Bob Cherry. "Caravanning! Oh, my hat! Where's your horse, then?" Bunter chuckled. "I hired a horse to pull me here this morning." "You're camping here," exclaimed Wharton. "Hee-hee, yes! But you can't," explained Wharton. "Can't I?" grinned Bunter. "I jolly well can. I can jolly well stay here as long as I like." "And how long is that going to be?" "Until the head lets me back into Greyfriars." Oh, my hat. Coker the Fifth came out of the gates again with Potter and Green. The news was spreading. Soon a crowd had gathered around Bunter's caravan. The fat junior grinned down at them serenely, but there was a hush as Mr. Quelch was seen to emerge from the gateway, his face pale with anger. He strode across to the caravan. "Bunter?" "Hello, Quelchy," said the owl Remove. "Bunter, how dare you? What are you doing here?" gasped the Remove master. "Caravanning, sir." "I command you, Bunter, to remove your caravan immediately from the precincts of this school." "Blow your old school," said Bunter. "Bunter, you remember how I dealt with you on the last occasion that you ventured here?" "I remember," said Bunter with a nod. "I shall chastise you in the same manner, Bunter, if you do not immediately depart from this, with this caravan." "Rats!" Mr. Quelch had a cane under his arm. He placed his foot on the step of the caravan. Slam! The door closed almost on Mr. Quelch's sharp nose. A key was heard to turn the lock. "Bunter!" gasped Mr. Quelch. "Yeah?" "Open this door at once, Bunter." "Rats!" "I command you." "Go and eat coke." There was a breathless pause. 100 Greyfriars fellows stared on, wondering what Mr. Quelch would do. As a matter of fact, he could do nothing. The two Greyfriars masters looked at one another. This is outrageous," said Dr. Locke. "It is beyond all bounds," said Mr. Quelch. "Bunter must be ordered to depart instantly." "I have ordered him to do so, sir, and I regret to say that he openly defies my orders." "Incredible!" gasped the head. "The village policeman, perhaps?" Mr. Quelch coughed. "That is the difficulty, sir. In the present circumstances, Bunter would claim to be a holiday caravaner." "Bless my soul!" Dr. Locke thought it out. The head decided at last to visit Bunter in person. Dr. Locke walked slow and stately down to the gates, and Mr. Quelch did not accompany him. The head! Phew! Now for the giddy circus. The word passed around among the crowd of Greyfriars fellows gathered at the grass round Bunter's caravan. Slow and stately, Dr. Locke passed through the crowd and reached the van. He halted facing the little window at which Billy Bunter stood grinning. "What are you doing here, Bunter?" said the head severely. "Caravanning, sir." "You cannot remain in that vehicle, Bunter." "I'm ready to come back to school at once, sir," said Bunter. "I'm bound to obey your orders as my headmaster." "I am no longer your headmaster, Bunter, and you cannot, as you should know very well, come back to the school." "Very well, sir," said Bunter. "If you're no longer my headmaster, sir, may I inquire respectfully why you're giving me orders?" "You are impertinent, Bunter." "So are you, sir," said Bunter cheerfully. "What? "You're cheeking me, sir," said Bunter, "and if I'm not a Greyfriars chap now, you have no right to call me names." Dr. Locke gazed at Bunter speechlessly. Bunter was correct. He had a right to talk to the head as one independent citizen to another, and he was exercising that right. "Bunter, if you do not depart, you will be removed," he said. "Bosh!" "What?" "Bosh!" "Bless my soul," articulated the head. Did you say bosh, Bunter?" "Yes, sir. Bosh. Utter bosh." Dr. Locke gazed at him. Then, without a word more, he turned away. He made a commanding gesture to the breathless crowd of Greyfriars fellows. "Go into the gates at once. No Greyfriars boy is allowed to speak to Bunter. Go immediately." The crowd went in. Coker V was wrathy. Coker was indignant. Cheeking a headmaster was, according to Coker, the limit. Dr. Locke, being Coker's headmaster, was entitled to respect and obedience. If Bunter refused to toe the line, Bunter had to be made to toe the line. That was Coker's opinion. Potter and Green agreed, and so did several other seniors to whom Coker confided his views. The head was apparently hampered by consideration of the legal aspect of the case. Bunter's form master seemed powerless. The sixth form prefects could not act without official instructions. The fifth form chaps, not being prefects, did not need any official instructions. They could act on their own. No law forbade a party of fifth formers to lark with a caravanner's caravan. After tea, therefore, Coker and Co. sallied forward. Coker led his little flock across the road and halted at the caravan. The window was open. Bunter was sitting in the van, slowly and methodically consuming the contents of a bag of jam tarts. He grinned at Coker. "Hello, old man. Where'd you get that face?" he asked. Horace Coker breathed hard. "You've got to get out of this, Bunter." "Rats! You're not going to be allowed to hang on here and cheek my headmaster. I don't approve of it." "Fathead! You won't go?" "No fear." That does it. Horace Coker stepped back from the window. "Take hold, you chaps," he said. The shafts of the van rested on the grass. Half a dozen sturdy fifth-formers picked them up and took a grip on them. They were quite easily able to pull the van along. Billy Bunter gave a howl as his van jerked and shifted. "Let my van alone," he bawled. "Go to it," said Coker. The van bumped and jolted off the grass and onto the highway. There was a shout from the school gates. "Anybody seen a moving job?" "Bunter's going." "I say, you fellows," yelled Bunter from the caravan window. "I say, Wartlow chap, make that rotter Coker let go." Wingate of the sixth form came down to the gates. He grinned at the sight of Bunter's van in tow with half a dozen fifth formers tugging at it. "Keep clear, you fellows," he called out to the crowd of juniors swarming at the gates. "You're not to chip in, any of you." The van jolted on down the road. The caravan turned from the high road into a lane where there was a large pond at the corner, where Coker gave the signal to halt. "Now, Bunter." "Beast!" "You're clearing off," said Coker. "See? Let my van alone," howled Bunter. "Now, are you going?" "No," yelled Bunter. "I'm giving you the chance to clear," said Coker. "Shan't." "Back it into the pond, you fellows," said Coker. "Eh? What?" exclaimed Potter. "Back that van into the pond." "Oh, my hat," said Thomason of the fifth. Coker lent a hand, a powerful hand. The caravan backed from the road, and the rear wheels went into the mud that bordered the pond. There was a wild howl of alarm from Bunter. "Shove," said Coker. "All together, shove." The caravan went in deeper. The pond was over the wheels now, and the muddy water washed the sides of the caravan. Coker and Co. pushed it out to the full length of the shafts, and then let the shafts drop into the water. Billy Bunter blinked, speechless from the window. The caravan rose like an island in the middle of the pond. "Hadn't you better clear?" said Coker calmly. "Oh, law!" gasped Bunter. The van gave a lurch in the mud, and the water washed through the little window. Bunter gave a howl. "Oh, I'm wet!" "Better get moving," suggested Coker. "Oh, dear!" Billy Bunter realised that he had better get moving. The van was rapidly filling. The owl of the remove realised that it was time to go. He made an effort to squeeze out of the caravan window, but the windows were not planned for caravanners with a circumference like William George Bunter's. The fat junior got out as far as his watch chain. "Oh!" gasped Bunter. "Try the door," grinned Potter. "Oh!" He tore the door open, and the water of the pond fairly rushed in. The caravan was flooded from end to end, almost as high as Bunter's shoulders. Oh, the fat junior came plunging out of the caravan, and he rolled into the pond and came plunging and splashing ashore through the clinging mud. He landed at the feet of the grinning fifth-formers. "Whoa!" he gasped. "Whoa! Whoa!" Coker smiled. "Better run for it," he said. "You'll catch a cold if you sit there, Bunter. Goodbye." "Oh, beast! Oh, "You better run a bit," said Coker. "You'll really catch a cold if you sit still, wet like that. I'll start you. Here's my boot." And there, whoop! Bunter started. There were great persuasive powers in Coker's boot. "Oh, beast! Oh, stop it! I'm going! Ain't I?" "Oh!" yelled Bunter as Coker dribbled him along the lane towards Fairdale. Coker turned back as Bunter vanished on the horizon. "I've done it," he remarked. "The head won't thank me for this, but he'll be jolly pleased all the same." There was no doubt that Coker had done it. Billy Bunter was not seen that day, or the next. Coker had done it, and the Greyfriars fellows were assured at last that they had seen the final exit of William George Bunter. Harry Wharton and Co. did not hear of Billy Bunter again until Monday. Then they heard. Some of the fellows had seen Mr. Clegg of Fairdale at Greyfriars that Monday morning, and wondered what the village tuck shopkeeper was visiting the school for. All Greyfriars knew that Billy Bunter was staying at Uncle Clegg's in the village. It was just before afternoon that a taxicab rolled up the drive, and from innumerable wrappings inside it a fat face peered, and the word went around like wildfire that it was Bunter. "Bunter here! Bunter back again!" The taxi stopped at the door of the school sanatorium. Bunter was borne into that building. The head had been placed in quite a difficult position when Mr. Clegg had brought him the news that Bunter was laid up with a severe cold. Mr. Clegg had explained that Bunter couldn't be laid up in the room over his tuck shop. There really was no choice for Dr. Locke in the matter now. He had to give instructions for Bunter to be brought to the school sanatorium at once. The next few days were not enjoyable ones to Billy Bunter. The school doctor visited him and earned Bunter's undying hatred and scorn by ordering a thin diet for him. Bunter asked plaintively to be allowed to see some of his old friends in the remove, so Harry Wharton and Co. were admitted to see Bunter. "I say, you fellows, I'm awfully bad," said Bunter in a feeble, failing voice as they stood round his bed. But when the nurse moved out of hearing, his voice grew stronger. "That old cat can't hear me, can she?" "You fat bounder." Of course I'm ill," said Bunter. "A fellow couldn't get well on the grub they give me. Anyway, I'm jolly well not going to get well and be bunked again. Is Quelchy very ratty with me?" "Yes, rather." "Look here, Bunter," said Harry Wharton seriously. "You jolly well deserve to be bunked, and you know it. But we all know that you're more a born fool than anything else." "Oh, really, Wharton? And I dare say the head knows it," said Harry. "If you really feel sorry for playing the goat and giving the head and Quelchy such a lot of problems, tell them so and apologise decently, and I think it's quite likely that the head may go easy with you, now you're here." "You see, I wasn't going to be flogged," said Bunter, blinking up at the famous five, "and I'm jolly well not going to take a flogging. But after all, they couldn't lick a chap who's just been ill, could they?" said Bunter thoughtfully. "As for apologising, I'll apologise to the head and Quelchy and Gosling the porter if they want me to. Words don't cost anything, do they?" "Oh, my hat." "I'll think that over," said Bunter brightly. "That silly idiot Coker may have done me a good turn after all." The next day it was learned that the head had visited Bunter in the sanatorium. Dr. Locke was looking very thoughtful as he came away. He proceeded to Mr. Quelch's study. "I have seen Bunter, Mr. Quelch," he began, "I trust he is now close upon recovery, sir," said Mr. Quelch dryly. "He has begged me to convey his apologies to you, Mr. Quelch, and to ask your pardon for him." Mr. Quelch coughed, and the head coughed. "The Bunter has certainly been most troublesome, Mr. Quelch, but we must remember that it was for no actual misdeed. It was for disobedience and impertinence that he was sent away from the school. These offences he is now sorry for. I have been thinking—" Mr. Quelch was well aware in advance of what the head had been thinking. "I have been thinking, Mr. Quelch, that Bunter might be given another chance here. I trust you will concur in my views." That way of putting it really left Mr. Quelch no choice. He concurred. Billy Bunter reappeared in the remove form room a few days later. Bunter was back again. The bunking of Bunter was a thing of the past. The owl of the remove was a Greyfriars fellow once more, and it was to be hoped that his late experiences would be a lesson to him.